Hey, it's 6 o'clock here in the region. We are on radio, so we're doing that part, right?
You know, I was obviously not here last week, but evidently neither was anyone else.
Well, we were here. I mean, we were here. We were here, just not there. But it wouldn't be WJOB if we didn't have issues doing the most basic things like getting on the radio. So what do you think, Lynette? Are we on or are we not on?
We were for a second, but
We were. I mean, look.
it's restarting.
That's
So we'll be back soon.
so we'll wait and do traffic and weather. Why don't we do our pregame now while we're waiting to get on the radio? And so
Okay.
are we on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, YouTube.
So the handful of people, the growing audience on YouTube, I should probably open up we should have the live chat thing going. Since we didn't get a chance to do our super advanced pre-game meeting about what to talk about today, we can just do that now and put our topics out there. And if anybody wants to chime in on any of these things, we can get to that. So let me know when we're on the radio. I'll do traffic and weather because the people on YouTube sitting at home probably don't care about the traffic.
Are
but
you maybe is it possible they are on their mobile device and driving?
That's illegal. So just pretend it's not. Let's pretend you can't do that.
Okay,
Well-
I think we should still be live while it's restarting.
Okay. Live on the radio?
Yes.
Well, now I'm
Okay.
sorry, radio folks, as we were paying attention to the YouTubers.
Well, we'll leave it to them. They can let us know. That's what we have a phone for. That maybe works. If not, just call my cell phone.
I
Either
expect
way.
the meme out there to be like, phone lines are down.
It's cold. It's much like the South Shore. It is too cold for us to be operating today. We were operating at a reduced schedule today. Let me see. Did I even get an alert from them yet? Did they pull the plug yet? Let's see.
It snowed in Ketchistan, so there's no phone lines here at WJOB.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the email saying they pulled the plug. Okay, so we've got the big vote today, right? We've got the big redistricting vote.
Big vote.
So we can talk about that. That's the Senate is going to be voting, right? So the state Senate is going to be voting on redistricting today.
My guess is that.
Well, we're just making a list here, and we'll check it twice later.
Okay.
So you can guess later. So we're going to put that on the list. So
Okay,
Senate,
redistricting is on the list.
Senate redistricting vote. Okay. So we're going to be talking about Chuck's absolute favorite topic in the 7 o'clock hour.
Trails. No.
That's my second. That's actually
Train.
might be my third. So we're going to be talking about the latest news from our friends over at the South Shore. They've got big plans, and you're paying for it. So we'll be talking about that in the 7 o'clock hour. If you're one of the people that were fortunate enough to be a part of the big super secret meeting that happened on Thursday while the main line wasn't actually running and the extension is 6 months behind, I'd love to hear from you. You can even call anonymously. Since I wasn't invited, of course, because why would I be invited to a meeting that I'm paying for, the project? Why would anybody? I guess I'm not a stake. Bob wasn't even invited, and he's a stakeholder too. We'll talk about that in the 7 o'clock hour. Before I get too worked up about that, what else do we want to talk about? What else have we got going? What are people caring about these days? If you guys are out there listening, what's going on? What do you guys care about? Obviously, the big story today is where we at, 10 degrees out.
10 degrees here for the fall of Chuck and Bob.
There's now the winter of my destruction or whatever. Are we on the radio yet? We getting close?
We are. We've been on.
She's
the
like,
radio.
I'm not even going to tell you guys we're on the radio. It's just going to be like you start getting a phone call saying, what are you guys talking about?
It's 7:12. She's back there
Yeah.
napping. Like, no, keep going.
You're
You're doing good. You're doing
Okay,
good.
so since we're on the radio, let's go ahead and reset and do our traffic and weather because that's what everybody tunes in for our award-winning traffic and weather. So looking at traffic, things are going surprisingly well. Things are moving along smoothly here in Indiana, 80, 94, 65, Toll Road, Skyway, everything looking good. On the Illinois side, you got the usual, just a little twinge of building traffic on the Dan Ryan, Bishop Ford. Things are looking good there. No accidents out there, which is good. 294, 394, all the 94s doing well. Everything looking good around the city. So if you're heading anywhere, you see anything, let us know. Obviously, ice kind of becoming an issue if there's a place that didn't get a proper salting this weekend. If you didn't get assaulted this weekend, you're going to have a little ice. I didn't properly salt my driveway, so we got a little ice there. So let's take a look at the all-important weather with Lynette.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 14 degrees with highs of 24 and lows of 17. It's going to be very cold with intervals of clouds and sunshine. And then later tonight it should be mostly cloudy and not as cold with some breeze later in the afternoon. And then tomorrow on Tuesday we'll be having highs of 39 and lows of 33. Should be mostly cloudy, breezy, and not as cold. And then Wednesday we'll be having highs of 36 and lows of 15. It should be cloudy and breezy with a couple of snow showers mixed with early rain.
Fantastic. We had we called it the Kris Kringle Market redo. So I had my Kris Kringle Market last week. The weather didn't cooperate. I said, we'll try it again this weekend.
That was yesterday, wasn't it?
That was yesterday.
How'd it go?
I had a good time. I was outside all day stoking the flames of our fires and making sure that everything was going well. The wind is always a factor when you have an outdoor market. Everybody loves the idea. They go, it's so quaint. We're going to have an outdoor market. I woke up. I was out there at 6 in the morning. It was a little snow on the ground, and it was just beautiful. And then the wind came in, and just the gales of December, as it were, came in and slashed everything, or sloshed. And so yeah, I mean, that's one of the things is you take that risk when you have an outdoor market. But for the most part, we had some fun. Everybody had a good time that went out there. But it reminded me about the idea that there's a lot of people that when the weather gets like this, they start going, oh, it's cold. I'm not going to make it. I'm going to work from home today because it's cold and all that stuff. And I'm always reminded of our friends out there in the world that don't get to work from home when the weather gets bad. So
It's a beautiful thing, let me tell you.
I want to give a shout out to all the men and women out there who don't get to call in a cold day today. If you're first responders, our friends like Mike Hall over at Hammond Fire, police, public works. I want to give a shout out to my guy Gabe Hernandez down in St. John. I mean, these guys just, they get it done, and they don't get to call in. They don't get to say, it's too cold today. I'm not going to plow the roads. We're not going to respond to that fire. And I know there's a lot of you out there today that are going out to a job site. Kudos to all of you guys. You guys are the ones that keep the world running. Like, you don't get to call in, it's too cold, I'm going to work from home. So kudos to all of you. You're getting up early. Wear those extra layers.
We had to put a post down. We didn't have to put a post on Facebook. That's a stupid thing for government to say. But we put one out there just explaining again to folks that, hey, this is why,
Is this a leaf pickup thing?
Oh, the leaf pickup
the leaf
thing.
pickup
Oh, my
thing.
gosh.
Well,
but
okay,
where I want to go with that is, okay, so some of the leaves didn't get picked up. We all remember when we had to go buy the bags at Ace Hardware and bag them ourselves and put it out there. And then we got the boomers who are going to say, well, I used to just burn them. It's like, well, okay, well, it's,
I'm good with that.
Dad, if you're listening, that's a Hessville 1965 story, I suppose. But they're always, everybody's always the first to rip on, everybody, they all do thank first responders, and that's great. Then they rip on Public Works for not,
because you didn't walk. What do you guys have, like 800 miles of street? Like, you guys didn't walk all 800 miles last week.
Yeah,
and
it's
300 miles, whatever it is.
But then on the same token is on a morning like today, knock on wood for anybody who's in Public Works watching.
It's quite plastic.
I'm knocking on wood as best I can. A morning like today is when you're going to get a water main break.
Right.
And these guys are going to be standing knee deep in water in this freezing cold temperature. It's like, if they don't get to your leaves for a day because we had
that
three,
should be your picture. When people complain, you should just post a picture of your guys standing in a pool of
we
water.
Had 3 water main breaks in a period of time that took a day or two to resolve all of it. And it's like, I'm sorry, we're not picking up leaves, when we're fixing water mains.
Like, which one do you want? Like, we will stop fixing the water and go pick up your leaves.
But no, so that was my winded answer to say, Public Works guys, they're going to be out there today. Last Friday we had our big tree lighting in Dyer. Every department got together. It was fantastic. They all did a great job. But while we were doing that, these guys were out in the little cherry picker bucket truck, plugging back in some of the lights from the windstorm and in the snow. And you try it's 10 degrees outside. You try going in a bucket truck
trying to
up
plug a
on the
light
top of
change a light bulb.
Calumet Avenue Bridge, and it's 11 degrees.
That's sort of the thing about what
I
always one of the things that you learn working with government is, like, these things don't happen in a vacuum. All these pretty lights, all these things, they don't happen in a vacuum. There has to be, well, in government, you have to have lots of meetings and lots of plans.
Yeah.
And what are we going to do? And then it finally gets done. But, yeah, the leaf thing is interesting. I was having a debate with my son. I was like, why? I don't, he's like, are we doing the leaves? I'm like, no, why? Like, it's nature. I would just run them over with the lawnmower and give them back to the nature, pile them up. They say a good place to pile them up against the trees is good for the trees too.
Well, and that's where, mice and little critters. Now, you don't want mice in your house, but, maybe don't put the pile next to your house,
Make them, you make them little neighborhood. And then you create a TOD around the neighborhood of leaves and a TIF district. And let me know we have calls. I mean, yeah, okay. I'm curious to see if we're on the radio. So let's go ahead. Let's take a call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, you'd think people have the sense to understand that anybody has to work outside, whether it be a government worker or the mailman,
garbage,
FedEx,
all those guys, yeah.
You have your own self-interest in making it life as easy for them as possible to at least service your house.
Right.
I'm always when it snows, I'm out there early in the morning, shoveling the snow off the sidewalk out to the streets so that they come by. My wife buys a lot of stuff from that's delivered to the door, and I make certain it's cleaned up and the salt is out there. And when it comes to the snow on the mailboxes and so forth, I try to wipe all that stuff off so that when they come through, they'll have no problem opening the little door there to put my mail in, and some of the neighbors as well. But maybe the American people are just spoiled rotten. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's kind of, Walt, I always talk about there's that cycle of hard times and weak men and all that sort of thing. And I think we really haven't had for someone like you that's been around for a while, when was the last time we had hard times? During World War II, right? I mean, things have been pretty good post-World War II for the most part. You had some gas shortages in the 70s, and all you had to do was wait in line a little bit. I mean, we've had it pretty good lately. And that's sort of the interesting thing is the easier things get in society. When you're living in a society where you're not worried about getting, mauled by a lion, you're not out there hunting and gathering all day long. You kind of start finding other things to complain about, right? And it's sort of like, to Bob's point, you got people up in arms because their leaves weren't picked up in the middle of a blizzard. And it's sort of interesting that, how good we have it, the things that people find to complain about online, which is pretty much everything.
Yeah, but no, not everything. And I hate to interrupt, but it's not everything. We have jokingly said, look, government, we can. A couple years ago, we had it's maybe 6 years ago now, right when I got on the council, we needed new water lines. So there was a $10 million bond that was passed. Not a single word was said, but boy, you don't pick up the leaves for a week. And but again, that ties to your point, which you've always said to Paul Goddard is like, hey, you've got this great network, you've got all these things, but your main responsibility is to tell people, why is the helicopter up?
Right, but also infrastructure isn't sexy, is my other catchphrase.
Yeah.
So people don't care about the water lines until they break. And then they go, well, why haven't they been maintained? Well, because we were busy building bike trails.
because we were sucking up leaves.
Right, well, but because we don't have ribbon cuttings for pipes, we have ribbon cuttings for bike bridges. So,
sorry, Walt.
Well, what else is going on?
And we're arguing about pronouns. How about that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we find things to complain about because we have everything. We for the most part. Here's what's crazy, Walt. I want to digress because I know that you know a little bit about this topic. It's amazing to me that in a society that is so bountiful because of the successes of capitalism, that there is a whole generation hell-bent on taking us backwards and going back to sort of like a socialist communist society. It's like, what are you thinking? Like, what? Communism killed millions of people. People starved. I always tell people, I said, I've been to Cuba. I've seen the empty shelves. I don't want that here. I've never, other than the occasional, like there's a blizzard and we run out of bread. Like you've never had to wait in line for bread in this country. You have the latest cell phone. Everybody has a big screen TV. You want to, I've said, Walt, we need to start sending high school kids to Cuba for the weekend. Like every high school kid should go to Havana, to volunteer for a week. Like go to Cuba, see what communism looks like, and then come home and thank your lucky stars that you live under one of the most bountiful societies in human history.
Do you know that Cuba at one time was one of the most prosperous country in Latin America before the communists took over?
I mean, when the mafia ran it, but going back to the 50s. But again, it's sort of interesting, Walt, because they are frozen in that time. They haven't. There's a couple of new. I mean, basically the Japanese have spent some money. There's a few new hotels, but for the most part, Cuba is frozen in that time. The last time they were prosperous, before Fidel came in. I mean, the country's frozen. The cars, the architecture, everything's frozen in time to the last time they had capitalism, right? It's kind of interesting when you think about it.
And the economy of Cuba is roughly half of what it was before the communists. And,
right.
Of course, they blame everything on the embargo the United States has. But what they leave out is Cuba does business with everybody else but the United States.
I mean, so basically, if you go to Cuba, everything comes from Mexico or Russia. A lot of their vehicles come from Russia. A lot of their food comes from Mexico. The Japanese are spending a lot of money. So, yeah, everybody's spending money there but the Americans. And they're like, well, it's the Americans' fault. Like, no, you have tourism from all over. I met Japanese and Russia and all sorts of people in Cuba. Right. Everybody's investing. It shows you that the only nice things in Cuba were like the government buildings, much like some of our communities here. But I mean, same idea. It's like, look, the capitalist investment isn't there, and look at the country. So, but I
was watching C-SPAN last night, and they were interviewing an economist at the Cato Institute conference.
Yeah.
Libertarian oriented.
Good people.
And
very smart.
He addressed the question as to why, after the Second World War, the presumption was once the war ended that the country would go back into a depression, when in fact it did not. The argument was you're going to have all these soldiers and military guys. There are like 15 million of them in the military will come back. The jobs won't be there. That didn't happen.
Right.
And here's his explanation. He said the difference is, the reason it didn't happen is that before the war, the Roosevelt administration was very hostile to free enterprise.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But after the war, because the war could not have been fought successfully if it wasn't for the fact that industry stepped forward and instead of making washing machines, started making bombs. And,
well, here, Walt, let's real quick though. Here, I want to belabor this point for a minute, Walt, because this is a very interesting point in history that not a lot of people know. Roosevelt is trying to break up the monopolies, is trying to break up the same industry that eventually turned around and churned out planes and tanks and bombs and everything he needed to win that war. Had he broken up those industries, he wouldn't have had that manufacturing, and we probably would have lost the war.
FDR was a garbage president.
And, the internment camps. But again, Walt, I mean, that's an amazing part of history that people don't know is the same people that 1 month ago, FDR is trying to break these guys up. He's going after Ford and all these guys. And a month later, he's going, hey, so I need a favor. I need you guys to turn on an airplane every 2 hours to win the war. I mean, imagine that. And the fact that these guys didn't turn their backs on him and say, go take a hike. You were just trying to destroy our business, that they stepped up and they were good Americans. They said, oh, yeah, we'll do whatever it takes to win the war. That's a huge part of history that people don't talk about, Walt.
Well, because the industry did such a great job of supplying all the weapons of war, not only for the United States but our allies.
Right.
And oh, by the way, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was dead when the war came to an end.
Right.
So his hostility to the private sector, and he grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. He had no idea as to how that worked, but because his hostile attitude toward corporate private enterprise, that after the war, the government didn't bring that hostile attitude, and as a result, we did not slip back into a depression because the free enterprise element was confident that they weren't going to get their necks wrong, and so they invested and risked their capital and all the rest of it. And the rest is history.
Yeah, well, Walt, I think that's a part that people that don't work in that basically don't work in the capital investment, don't work in, growing business, they don't understand is that most of the growth comes from the confidence. So essentially, here's the way it works. If the private sector is confident that the public sector isn't going to come in and screw things up, they will be successful and grow. If they're worried that government's going to go, whether it's tariffs or new regulation or whatever, if they're worried that government's going to come in and screw things up, you're going to have recession. And that's basically how it works. And so that's sort of the thing, is that's why having government that is pro-business and pro-growth is so important. And when you have government that wants to spend, billions on EVs that don't work or billions on pollution control and whatever, then you have recession. So, Walt, we do have to go. Thank you so much for checking in. I always appreciate it. I always appreciate Walt's wisdom because, again, he was one of those guys. He lived it. He was there. He lived through it. He taught about it. He understands it. He gets it. I always enjoy talking to him. So thank you, Walt. But what let's do is let's take a break. We'll be back with more fall of Chuck and Bob here.
It's not the fall.
It's the winter of my discontent here on WJOB. Are we ready? Let's do this. 6:24 in the region. I got a text from Paul Goddard for you, Bob.
Yeah.
I said your
Morning, Paul.
decorated pole of Dyer looks splendid this season. However, my Festivus grievance is maybe next year he can cut down a real tree instead of a pole. What does that mean?
We use our 80-foot flagpole.
Oh, I see.
We contracted with a group out of Highland Pure Illuminations, and they created the Christmas tree. And I believe it is the tallest Christmas tree in Lake County. I'd like to verify that. If anybody knows of a tree that's taller than 85 foot, a lit Christmas tree, let me know.
It's always about having
call
the
in.
biggest, and
That's
everybody
right,
like, oh,
that's
we want
right.
the tallest pole. And this and that.
We had this pole, and the flag's been up for a couple of years, and we thought, wow, wouldn't that be kind of cool to make that a Christmas tree? And the folks over at this is not an ad hype for them. They're just a great group of people. They do a lot of decorative lighting for. I think they've done some in Highland and some other places, but a group called Pure Illuminations. And they came out and they do it looks pretty cool. But no, I would never take down an 80-foot tree because that's where the squirrels live.
Well,
right, Chuck?
Why couldn't you just grow a tree somewhere and then just use that? I mean, that's the thing about government is plant a tree whose shade you will not enjoy, Bob. So plant the tree today so that future generations have an 80-foot Christmas tree.
I think last year we planted something like 700 trees in Dyer.
No, I'm saying plant one specifically, like dedicate it as this will be
and we
the Christmas tree in 50
we
years.
do have a tree at Town Hall.
I would put one in a roundabout. Like just put it in a roundabout.
This tree is in a roundabout.
Okay, and then what
Not
you do
really
is you just shut down the roundabout for Christmas, and then you can have Christmas in the roundabout. I'm just throwing it out there. Okay, do we have phone calls? I don't know why, but we do. Okay, so good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, guys. It's 6:26. Is this live?
Is this? I don't even
no. Minute by minute, we never know.
No, this is Memorex.
You're on the air. I mean, is Dado screwing around at 6405 Elcott Avenue?
I mean, that might be why everything's working because he's still in bed. I don't know.
That's the
it's
reason.
too cold for him today, so
I knew it.
Everything's
I knew
working.
it because it seems like it's you, and now it's you're getting to Dabberton where he's getting a little. I think it's a plot because you guys such have great shows. I think it's a plot, man, behind the scenes.
Now here's
Well,
something.
you know,
I'm,
but
well,
that's what
hang on,
happens,
hang
though,
on,
is
hang on.
when
I'm going to
you-
speak over this.
Here's the thing: you're not from WGOB. You don't know what happens. Whenever there's a good show on WGOB,
Yeah.
it gets hacked.
Yeah.
And that's
As
what.
you-
So
you may have read.
I'm new to this whole thing. So apologies in advance. To some of the other hosts here who I don't know you all. I always ask. I say, how come this never happens on Tuesdays and Thursdays?
Exactly.
Don't start.
No. I'm new. I'm new. So let's claim ignorance. I don't know. I just every time something goes sideways, it's that. But hey, what do I know? I'm just the guy in the chair, right?
Yep. Hey, but guys, we hear a lot on the air always complaining about what government doesn't do. Government needs to do more. God forbid, where's
Mainly on
government?
Mondays.
It snowed 15 minutes ago. Why isn't my street plowed? Blah blah blah. I want to do it a little reverse. I want to talk about the useless citizens in Northwest Indiana that have to be constantly told by government entities, please, please, please. When it snows 2 inches, please have your car off the street.
Right.
Constantly. And it doesn't matter the community. It doesn't matter. They have to, government officials, elected officials, have to beg people to get their car
Well,
off
here,
the
let
street.
me put this out though. Here's what Chicago does. I'm not giving Bob any ideas, but you know what Chicago does, Bob? At midnight on December 1st, they send out a fleet of tow trucks and they tow hundreds of cars, and everybody remembers that message the entire winter season.
Admittedly, when it snows,
you should have
there's a
meme.
risk. There's a risk being elected on the
Go
radio
ahead.
too. But there's a bit of me that wants to become a little dictatorialish with this. I get so upset when I see cars on the road with snow, and I am one of 5 votes, so it would never go anywhere.
I understand.
But I would say tow them all. Just
So,
tow them
okay,
all.
how about here?
That is one of the most rude things you can do
Can I
to your
propose a
neighbors.
couple things, like as far as the towing and stuff like that? What if you just do a Facebook Live in front of a random car, or you guys leave little pink warning tickets, like, "Hey, you don't be a jerk, move your car."
Oh, I mean, our guys are out there because people then neighbors complain my car, and so we every snowstorm we release the stats. Hey, we we issued 100 tickets, 50 warnings and citations. So I mean, they're out there. People are getting ticketed for this, but
Right.
I would say just tow them.
Right.
Put them in the Jewel parking lot and let them walk there and pick up their cars.
But let's expand this. Now, homeowners who own a snowblower and elect to throw the snow in the street. They own a snowblower, but they can't move the chute. They throw the snow directly in the street. Why does that happen? Constant. In addition, I seen in a community a homeowner that hired a contractor to plow and or snowblow their snow. I seen the contractor blow the snow in the street, and then you know what that happens. It dries. The streets dry. But guess what? Now it freezes. That's a patch of ice right in front of that individual's house. I wonder, can that homeowner be sued if I have a collision in front of your home because you threw that snow on the street and I slid on that ice and I ran into somebody? I wonder if that person.
I mean, anybody could be sued. There's a bunch of guys on.
Yeah, all
billboards
it takes, I think, a couple $100 as a filing fee. But we have that issue a lot in town. Back to Dyer, because that's what I know is a lot of these businesses when they contract with folks, to come do their plowing. Man, they'll take everything from the parking lot and dump it right on the street after our guys have come through, and it's like you can't be doing that, folks. Yes, it's inconvenient to have a pile of snow in your 2 parking spots, but it's snow, man. Come on.
But my point is, in addition, it's rude. It's just wrong, but it's dangerous. It's dangerous to have a dry street. Dry street. Now, since you decided to throw 2 inches of snow that's ice now, if you have to stop in front of that specific driveway, you're not stopping. You're not stopping, and you're driving down the road because nobody speeds in Lake County. You know that. Mr. Goddard knows that. Nobody speeds here. We all drive, to 20 miles under the limit, right? If you have to hit your brakes, you're not stopping, man. But the thing is, and you see it year after year after year, and you see the same people. And it's not even just we blame young people a lot. I'm sorry. I see older people doing the same thing, throwing it in the street, shoveling in the street. And I'm thinking, why? To me, it's so much worse when you shouldn't do it when you shovel, but when you have a snowblower, move the chute. It's amazing. But then I guarantee you, we'll have people. Yeah, but government should. To your point, Chuck, earlier, and to the ribbon cutting ceremony. See, because our elected officials, it's just not you, Mr. Counselor, but it's just the next political move forward. Let's cut ribbons, and next thing you know, you live in a community that's 200 years old, and you have an infrastructure that it all needs to be replaced. Well, that elected official that moved on up, he's moving on up in the world because it's all about the elected official. It's about their next job. I hear it on these airways all the time. Are you going to run for this? Are you going to run for this? Are you going to run for this? It's never what they do for the community now. It's what's their future political endeavors. You ever notice that, Chuck? It's
well, I know. I hear that all the time.
Right.
I've been on the council for. I'm in the middle of my second term, so I've been on the council for 6 years, and I'm constantly asked, even from as soon as what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? I'm like, well, let's just. I'm perfectly fine just paving streets just because I like Dyer. I mean, that's the assumption is that everybody's in it to then
the next move.
Yeah.
And I'll give credit to I heard the mayor of the city of Holbrook, who's a young Democrat.
I like Josh.
He was asked on the program. I'm happy in Holbrook. I want to make Holbrook better. It wasn't, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that.
Well, okay, so here becomes the problem, though. Here becomes the inherent issue that we talk about. The people that want to do good things are happy taking care of Dyer,
Yes.
taking care of Griffith.
Yes.
The people that want to do good things are like, and again, this goes back to the thing is the good people don't want to necessarily, they don't want to go to Washington. They don't
Right.
want to go downstate. They're like, why would I deal with
Well,
that?
and you can't get anything done.
You can't get anything
Yeah.
done.
Josh is doing great things in Hobart. Let's say he ran for state senate or a state rep and went down to, Indianapolis.
Right.
Like, okay, now you're one voice out of
100%.
100. Well, what are you doing
Right.
there?
So
You
that's
can
the thing.
actually
Is,
do
is
good
that
things.
sort of the inherent problem with
Morning,
Washington?
Josh.
Is nobody wants to go there because they know they can't get anything done.
You know, and I'll get off of this because I used to hear people on these airways criticize the mayor Copeland of East Chicago. He said he's all about East Chicago. I'm thinking, if I lived in East Chicago and I knew that's where I'm going to die, I'm going to die in it. That's what I want. That's who I want to lead my city. Personally, please. This isn't an endorsement of that side of the aisle. That's
Yeah,
not the point.
no, we gotcha.
My point is, that's who. If I'm in that community and I know I'm going to die in that community, and that's the head of my city or town is saying, no, I want to service this community. That's what I want. But some people in the political realm find that as a negative.
Yeah, I mean, don't you want to live somewhere where your elected officials are cheerleaders and champions for, wherever
Yes.
you live?
Right.
I'll move on, guys. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for the call. Do we got anybody else? We got one more caller? Okay, let's take the next caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning. How are you doing this morning?
We're good. How are
Good
you?
morning.
All righty. I was just going to chime in on what the previous caller was talking about and
Yeah.
how people will go ahead and they'll be out there and they'll complain about what's going on with, public works and not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and then not give credit when credit is due. For example, they go out there and they say that, the public works, they hit my mailbox. Well, no, actually they didn't hit the mailbox with the snow.
The snow hit your mailbox. Yeah, I get it.
Exactly. And people don't realize that, and then they'll the same people that complain about the ridge of snow at the end of their driveway will also be the same ones that complain when there's flooding in the streets or whatever because of the fact that the snow didn't get pushed back enough that open the storm drains up.
Well, it's really kind of amazing, though. Like, Bob, do you know how many plows that you guys had running? Like, how many do you have running at any one time? Like 10?
9 or 10 constantly.
So, I mean, think about the idea that is within 8 hours of a snowstorm, 10 plow truck drivers, 10 guys working, whatever long shifts, get an entire town cleaned up. That's pretty amazing that they get that done. And, are they going to miss a couple things? Or is my cul-de-sac not going to be perfect? I don't care. Like, get it done, get the main roads
You
cleared.
just both you, both the caller and you, Chuck. I thought we do get a handful of folks that are critical, and trust me, none of us are afraid of people being critical. We'll take them, but you know what? I think I'll look into this when we're done here. It would be nice to have open invitations. Not that any of our public works guys are going to roll their eyes when I say this. Is ride along.
I would love to do
that. If you
that.
want to be critical and say, well, why don't you do this? Well, you know what? At 2 a.m, when it's 15 degrees outside,
Yeah.
we'll call you up. Hop in the cab of one of our big multi-ton plow trucks and drive around for 8 hours plowing
Bouncing around,
while
getting
it's
beat up.
still snowing out,
Yeah.
while your neighbors didn't move the cars, and so you have to navigate that, and then sorry, caller, I didn't mean to. That was just an idea. Yeah, we'll start. I'll see if we can start doing ride-alongs with that.
Well, that's okay. It's and then you also get the people that will go ahead and say, oh, well, you need to cut government spending. You need to cut government spending. And they're the same people that will turn around and say, well, why doesn't the public works have people going out and cleaning the storm drains?
Well, okay, I know you're calling out. You're calling me out here.
Oh,
but here's
he's
the thing.
twitching now.
I am.
Twitching now.
See, here's the thing. You will rarely hear me complaining about my local taxes. I think that my property taxes are fair. Referendums aside, I think that the services. And this is, I was arguing with one of our regular listeners last night about taxation and taxing the rich and stuff like that. I said, if I am paying taxes for services and I'm getting said services, I'm happy. There was a time, like you even remember, there was a time in Gary a few years ago, they had like one plow truck that was working. They had to borrow plow trucks. It's like, so the people are paying for a service that you are not providing. That's where libertarians start saying taxation is theft. If I'm paying you for a service and you don't provide it, you are stealing my money. When it comes to local services, my town, I grew up in Dyer, I was here in Munster. These towns do a great job providing the services. And you will rarely hear me complaining about my taxes because they're providing the services they promise. I mean, and that's the thing is, as long as you're doing your job, people are going to nitpick about the leaves, but for the most part, they get it done, and kudos to them, right? I mean, that's the thing. Like when we complain about taxes, we're talking about, the people that somehow spend $1 billion building a train to nowhere. But that's another story for the 7 o'clock hour. But I mean, to Bob's point, I think you guys should. I think what we should do is, Bob, I think you should start doing ride-alongs like at 2 in the morning. Do a ride-along on Facebook Live and show people like, here we are. This is what happens.
We have, I think a lot of communities do this. They have, we have a once a year a Public Works open house where you can come in and you can see, hey, what happens, from the moment you flush your toilet to the moment the water, then the tree water then goes back into the ditch, and to see that whole process and to see all the other pieces of equipment, then you start to realize, oh, that's what actually happens. Because
right, it doesn't
but it is muscle memory. Even when your power's out, what's the first thing you do when you walk in a room? You flip the light switch.
Right.
You just don't think about it. I'm sorry, caller.
Go ahead.
That's all right. I just, like I said, it goes back to the old thing of what you can't please all the people all the time, or.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I always tell people when like one of the things I learned about moderating and managing Facebook is like, look, you have to. It's like I always tell like a councilman, like 5 people are always going to show up at your meeting and complain. Don't be worried until you show up and there's a full house of people complaining. Then there's always going to be somebody complaining about something, and you have to kind of manage that. And there's a thing that, people are like, oh, I just kind of want to please, we want to do this thing and please people. Like, no, there are people out there that are just going to complain, and you're not going to please them all. And that's part of the.
I think Kuziak used to use a phrase that used to call them cave people, citizens against virtually everything.
Right. Right, and well, I mean, and not to say I'm not a member of that group, but I'm just saying because I've seen how much some things cost. But yeah, I mean, look, people are going to complain, and it's sort of like, are we getting the job done? Like a place like Dyer, they're getting it done. Are a couple people going to complain? Sure, but you know what? You're getting it done. You're keeping the lights on. You're keeping the streets plowed, and that's why I always tell politicians. I go, this job is relatively easy. Water. Make the water goes in, make sure the garbage goes out, make sure the roads are plowed, and for the most part, that'll get you reelected. It's when you start going down the road of these crazy ideas that you start getting yourself into trouble, right? So, okay, hey, I appreciate the call because we got to take a break. So we'll be back with more, but we're going to get into my favorite topic at the 7 o'clock hour.
Choo-choo.
We're going to be talking about the latest in train news here at the 7 o'clock hour. Bob may just put a bag over his head and pretend he doesn't know what's going on because he doesn't want to be a part of this. But so we're going to talk about that. So
he
tune
means
in.
the radio show, not the topic, just the show in general.
Well, just in general. Okay. So we'll be back in a few minutes with your calls. 219-845-1100. We'll be back with more after this. 6:46 here on a Monday morning. Chuck and Bob and Chuck, Lynette in the producer booth. Let's take a quick look at traffic and weather. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I wish I could play those old school.
I got a laugh out of the booth.
Well, at least you know how to make her laugh. At least somebody's making her laugh this morning. Okay, so let's take a look at traffic and weather. So traffic, things looking good here in the region, 80, 94, 65, Skyway Toll Road, everything looking good. On the Chicago side, you've got, looks like Dan Ryan getting heavy from the merge on in. Bishop Ford still looking good. 80 looking good, 294 looking good, everything looking good around the city. So your only real problem is the Dan Ryan heading into downtown. How is the weather?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 15 degrees with highs of 24 and lows of 17. It's going to be very cold with intervals of clouds and sunshine, and then later tonight will be mostly cloudy and not as cold. Tomorrow on Tuesday we'll be having highs of 39 and lows of 33. Should be mostly cloudy, breezy, and not as cold. And then Wednesday we'll be having highs of 36 and lows of 15, and it should be cloudy and breezy with a couple of snow showers and mixed with early rain.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We probably should cover some sports. There's a lot of
go sports.
So there's a lot of sports this weekend. So what I can tell you is that some teams won, some teams did not.
Oh.
If your team won, congratulations. It was a well-fought victory. If your team came up short, better luck. You'll get them next time.
I hear the Green Bay Mermen did well.
Did they? I don't know if you want to.
No, is that
if you
too
want to
deep
lose
of
an
a
election?
cut?
If you want to lose
Green
an
Bay
election,
Mermen?
do not support Green Bay. I know that much about the sports. So if your sports team did not do well, my apologies. Better luck next time. But in the meantime, we're taking phone calls here at WJLB 219-845-1100. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Wonderful. How are you?
Yeah, I know you're going to talk about the trains. You know
We
what
are.
I say about that?
What's
you know
that?
what I say about that? You know.
Well, and that's the problem is that most people have that same opinion, yet for some reason we continue to spend billions of dollars. And that's what I want to get into at the 7 o'clock hour.
Yeah, but everybody complaining. You know, it's like when I moved to Hammond a long time ago, to get into my driveway, I got to go down my alley. Well, Hammond doesn't plow alleys, which I don't complain about that because, like, when we had our snowfalls, I tell you, Hammond, they plow their streets unbelievable. I mean, like Saturday morning, when I get up, I had to brush the snow off the car, do my driveway, and then I went out. The main streets were beautiful, you know, and then, I mean, I think Munster and everything was good, too, because when I went up to Calumet and stuff was good, but you know what, the most thing, now I'm not going to complain, you know, but it's just disgusting. It's like after I took my wife somewhere Saturday, we had to go to a little store, and I see this constantly going on, you know, I have a handicap sticker on my windshield.
Right.
My wife. I mean, I am kind of handicapped. I could use it because of what my physical right now and two other things with me. But I can physically walk, and I can see a lot better now. And I went to Big Box Sunday, and the same thing again. I pull in there, and when I'm walking into the store, I look at the handicap spot. You know, I sent you a picture.
Yeah.
This car, I had to park away from a handicap spot for my wife to get into the store because this guy came flying in there, took the handicap spot. His windows were so tinted you couldn't see in the driver's side, which I don't think that's legal. But he didn't have a handicap spot sticker plate. I look on the mirror, which you could see in there. He doesn't have it on there. And, you know, now is it that important to hurry up and run in that store? Because what if somebody else really needs that spot?
So here's the thing, that person doesn't think about that. That person doesn't think that maybe there's somebody else behind me that's handicapped. Even like when I go to, you know, like I'll go to the store and my wife always yells at me like, why do you, it's funny because she's always wanting to get her steps in. But then when I don't want to take the closest spot to the store, she's like, what are you doing? I go, well, you're getting your steps in. And so I say, well, what if somebody, you know, an older person, a pregnant woman, somebody like, let's give them that spot. We're healthy. We can walk, you know, halfway down the aisle. It's not a big deal. So we're always having that debate. That person never thinks about you. That person never thinks about somebody who's handicapped. That person doesn't think about anybody but themselves. And that becomes the inherent problem with our society is that we have more and more people that own, I mean, and I always tell people, I said, if you have any faith left in humanity, just take the Dan Ryan during rush hour and see the people that would literally put you into the wall just to get one car length ahead of you. I mean, the amount of selfishness, and this is, I'll save my digression about how this is what happens when you put millions of people in a big city, as opposed to, this is why humans are not meant to live in big cities. They're meant to live in small communities where there's accountability. We have created a society where you have millions of people in a place like Chicago. There's no accountability. They can, you know, they can run red lights. They can do whatever they want, and there's no accountability. So for the most part, yes, people are good. People look out for each other. But there are this portion of people that just don't care, and they are ruining society for the rest of us.
I had a thing, you know, how you said people if everything's going good, but then when something ain't right, then that's when they complain. Well, the thing I had a problem with was, and I don't do it anymore, but I found a guy that has a snowplow, and he didn't charge me much, and he'd go down my alley, and I have him go from my street to the west all the way to the east. And I have about 1, 2, 3 people that have to park in my alley saying like me. Well, I got to thinking, why should I have this guy do theirs? And I'm paying the bill.
Well, here would be my suggestion.
Why
don't you just send the bill to the city?
No. But what I did was the next time he came, I says, hey, you see this other part of the alley that goes south? Plow from there and go back west. Don't go east. Just go west. All of a sudden, next time he was doing, they come out and they say, how come he ain't coming down this way? I says, because I'm paying the bill. I says, why should I do yours? I says, oh, but now you're complaining, you know? That's
well, here's what should happen, though. Here, now follow me on this. What if everybody paid a small portion of their income and combined it and had people provide services? You get what I'm saying? So everybody gives a little bit of money, and then that money gets used to provide services like plowing the roads and the alleys. I mean, I know that's a crazy concept. I mean, maybe, Bob, I know the light bulb's going off in your head. Like, okay. So that goes back to my point is I would honestly go to a city council meeting. I would send them the bill and go, hey, you guys aren't plowing this thoroughfare. Here's the bill for somebody else to do it for you, and see where that goes. You go on the 411 app, post a picture of it, and go, hey, look, I can't get to my house because nobody ever plows. Why don't you, I mean, you're the kind of guy that just kind of goes along. Why don't you make a stink about it next time it snows and see See if you get anywhere.
Well,
I'm just saying.
I wouldn't want to complain.
I know
to the city
that's the
about our
see. This
alley,
is the thing: is
but-
that the people that have nothing to do complain, and guys like you that you have an actual grievance. You're too nice of a guy to complain about it. I mean, and that's why let's complain about it here on the radio. Complain about it on the 411 app. Go complain to your councilman. They love it when you do that. So I mean,
But then
again,
they
like
would-
complain about it.
Well, they would probably, because they're going to build something and then charge you a few food and beverage.
Yeah, they'll be like, okay,
Yeah.
we're going to raise a food and beverage tax to plow the alleys and get to your house.
That's why I don't say much, because if you do that, then we're going to have a alley
Yeah,
tax.
we have an
charge
alley
now,
tax.
The
The
it's
alley
like-
tax.
Yeah.
It has a ring to
Yeah.
it.
But talking about your big tall Christmas tree, many years ago when I used to drive my semi and I go through a town east of here, I think by Decatur, Indiana, it's like by Fort Wayne. I
Okay.
don't know, somewhere down there. There was this town, like Crown Point Square. There's a courthouse right in the middle. This town was so beautiful because in a Christmas time, they had strings of lights go from the top of that courthouse all the way to the other sides of the businesses, all around that whole
Oh, that's
square.
cool.
And then
Oh,
when you
that
say
was
that, the
so
first thing I think about is the guy in the 30-foot picker lift that has to go up there to hang all those lights up and
But
change the light bulbs.
that's cool. And so let me just, well, I'll let you finish your thought, and then I've got a thought on that.
Yeah, and another thing is, just like it's kind of sad that Peavsville is not going to be out anymore, because
Yeah.
guys getting older and people are getting older, and
right.
and they did it for so many years out of their heart to let everybody enjoy it. But then as soon as they didn't do it, people's like, oh, where's this? Where's that? But just think how many years those people on that street, out of paying their bills and everything, to have something to show and let people and kids and family enjoy. But you got these people that's got to nag and complain because somebody out of their heart did something to let people and everybody enjoy something beautiful. I'll let you guys go, and it's a wonderful issue because now I'm kind of semi-retired. I sit in my house, drink coffee in a nice warm house, and wait for the station to try to come on time.
Yeah, we try. We do our best, Mike. But hey, seriously, why don't you make a stink about it next time it snows and see if you get anywhere? I mean, I know you're a nice guy, but you like I said, you paid for services, you should get them. So think about that.
but during this winter, already I've had to use my snow shovel 3 times this year. I think winter's going to be interesting this winter. But
Yeah.
everybody.
I know
everybody,
one of my guys in St. John said they got more snow, in the last 2 weeks than we did in the last 2 years. Or
Oh,
something
yes.
like that. So,
Certainly.
Yeah.
so
But-
okay,
but
well,
with this weather condition now and snow, just everybody be careful when you step out the door, and just be so careful that you don't fall and hurt yourself.
good advice, and check on your elderly neighbors. Keep an eye on people.
Yep.
See if don't be that guy that takes the parking spot. Be that guy that asks, hey, what do you need? Do you have what you need? Can I run to the store for you? Stuff like that. So,
Yep.
hey, I appreciate
All right,
the
well,
call. You guys, go ahead. Finish your thoughts.
Yep. Everybody have a wonderful and safe day today.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
you too.
Okay, Bob, you said you had thoughts before we go to break.
I did have a few thoughts about this community out east that did the tree lights that or the string lights he was talking about. You go up and down Calumet Avenue, Dyer through Munster. I know Hammond. All these. It doesn't matter political party. All these communities they put up these Christmas decorations. It looks nice. There's these festivals. That all costs a little bit of money to do. And just a random rant. When folks say, hey, you guys got to start trimming the fat in government, I agree that the larger the city gets, the more fat there is. But once you start getting down to sizes like a St. John, yes, you'll always be able to find some way that, hey, I can buy those Post-its for bulk on Amazon. Okay, so there's always ways to find somebody. But I really do think a little bit of fat. I mean, is that not there's some community building in that. It is so nice to drive around and see a really nice, nicely decorated community. Now you could argue, well, who put that up, and maybe get the Lions to do it or whatever. I don't know. I love when I see communities get together and do nice events and decorate for the holidays. Everything looks good. So yeah.
So it is 7 o'clock. You listen to AM 1230, 104.7 FM in beautiful Hammond, Indiana. The only thing I will say about that is if you got these things sponsored, then I'd have nothing to complain about. Then you guys would be like, well, we didn't. It's all. I mean, whenever I go, well, how much are you guys spending on this? They say, oh, it's privately funded. Oh, I'm in check. I mean, so again, I'm just saying.
Well, even when they are privately funded, so hey, this person here's donated this. Those the lights on the poles are freakishly expensive. I never knew how expensive they were, but it's safe to say they're about $1,000 a pop. Now we don't need to have a caller call and say, oh, I know they're 800, but they're about $1,000 a pop. How many light poles are there? You still got to go out there and put those things up. So there's always a little bit in there, but man, it is just so nice to drive down Calumet Avenue and see all the nice lights, and it makes you feel good. And
it is nice because that's what's important is feeling good.
it is feeling good.
Not having a balanced budget. As long as you have a balanced budget and you feel good, I can't
Hey,
complain.
what more could you want?
So speaking of complaining, we'll be back in a few minutes, and I'm gearing up. I am mounting up for an epic rant.
Because what
Of
you want to see on
monumental
YouTube
proportions.
is Chuck mounting up.
We'll be back after this. 7:06 here in the regional. Let's take a quick look at traffic and weather once again before we get back into it. Traffic here in Indiana looking fantastic this morning. No real slowdowns anywhere to speak of. On the Illinois side, you got the usual building traffic. Dan Ryan from the merge on in. Slow going, not terrible. Everything else around Chicago, 294, all the 94s, everything looking good, 80, everything looking good. So things looking, other than inbound Dan Ryan, everything is looking good. So how about the weather?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 15 degrees with highs of 24 and lows of 17. It's going to be very cold with intervals of clouds and sunshine. Later tonight will be mostly cloudy and not as cold. And then tomorrow on Tuesday we'll be having highs of 39 and lows of 33. Should be mostly cloudy, breezy, and not as cold. And then Wednesday we'll be having highs of 36 and lows of 15. Should be cloudy and breezy with a couple of snow showers and mixed with early rain.
Thank you so much. Do you have any callers?
We have a full boat.
We have a full boat. Okay.
Full boat.
I'm going to power through the callers so I can get to my favorite topic. So good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Okay, Mr. Sharkey, I would like to request a song.
I'm not the DJ, but I would love to hear what song you'd like to request. And
Okay. Because I always ask Chuck, and he never plays my music for me. So that's why I'm asking you.
what you
So
got?
I would like to hear Freedom 76 by Ween. No bullshit. Play the whole song, and not just 2 seconds of the song, please. Ween, Freedom 76.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. We don't want to get kicked off YouTube. Next caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, you guys put a chain on the front door yet to keep D-Lo out so it doesn't ruin your show?
I pushed the couch in front of it, actually. So, yeah.
Well,
remember that movie
if
Airheads?
you can hear us on the radio.
That's what we do. We pile the couches up in front of the door just like an Airheads. I've got a little machine water gun.
That's all right. Just make sure you got plastic gloves on because you hit those couches with black lights.
Okay,
Man.
so what else you got?
It's going to look like a crime scene over at Chuck's house.
Like a Pollock painting.
Okay.
Exactly.
Behave ourselves. What's going on?
Rough
What do you got?
weekend in Artland, huh? So, hey, have you guys, now I know you guys being the Charles Atlas looking type of guys, but have you mentioned college football yet? Do you guys even know what college football
Yeah, no,
is?
I said that some teams won and some teams lost. Congratulations if your team won, and better luck next time if they didn't. We covered sports in depth this morning, yes.
Swear, last night at pizza, my dad goes, "Hey, did you see how Indiana's doing?" I was like,
how are the
I
roads?
don't know.
That's- Okay, yeah, so
And
yes.
you said what, like the State Corn Association Committee?
Yeah.
Oh,
the
wait,
hog
that would
farmers.
be the guy who runs for president every year wearing overalls and says, "I'm supported by Chuck." What's that guy's name?
He didn't run for. I'm so tired of that.
That's
joke.
amazing.
I'm gonna make you guys have lunch someday, and you'll be like, "Man, I have a lot in common with that guy." Stop. Okay. Anyway, go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's-
sorry,
see, that's
sorry
not
that my
something you
candidate
want.
doesn't wear a $1,000 slick suit paid for by the taxpayers. Go ahead.
Listen, I got a suit from Craftsman when I bought 2 drills, okay? He'd be looking like he'd
And
be
now they're
wearing
out of business. So
Armani
how'd
if
that
he
work
had
out?
one of those.
Okay, go ahead. What's going on?
Yeah. No, that was just about it. But, hey, I will say this, though, regarding the snow removal,
Yeah.
And I'd say to Wonder Boy number 2 there, instead of building another outdoor theater that you're going to use like once every 3 months in the year, how about just taking the guys after the end of the snowplow removal, send a couple guys who might need a couple bucks, put them in one of your little plow trucks, just a pickup truck, and hit the skirts of the people in the town. Because I got to tell you, I mean, I do snow removal too. I got, trucks and everything like that and blah, blah, blah. So I know what I'm talking about. But it's not going to kill you to go whack a couple thousand driveways. It ain't going to kill you. It takes
like
about 8 seconds each.
I feel like that's illegal
No, it's not. How is it illegal?
to use government. So he's asking, why can't your guys moonlight in a government vehicle?
No, I mean,
No, what are you talking about, moonlight? Who the hell said moonlight, you freaking goof?
The aprons, if I'm not mistaken, the aprons are ours.
No, but he's saying plow people's driveways with public
No, I
works.
didn't.
No, he's just
that.
saying,
What do you-
get the aprons
What am
or
I
skirts,
talking
whatever
to
you call
Jed
them.
here? The skirt of the drive
Okay,
on the edge.
okay.
Because if you put the snow there, actually, you know what? Technically, if we all lawyered up, we'd simply take the towns to court and go, look, that skirt is ours. You are not allowed to put
Yeah,
anything
but you're also
on
going
there
to take
without my
out
permission.
a couple hundred mailboxes in the process. So
Listen, you don't hire Charlie to do it. You don't put D-Lo at the. What are you going to put a plow on D-Lo's Subaru? That doesn't work.
Okay.
You get a nice little, just a little plow truck. You little turn to the left, back up, go to the next driveway. It'd be a nice gesture, you know.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
he's taking it under
You got it.
advisement. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you
that's
for
it.
the
I'm
call.
out. Good
okay.
luck.
Next call. Good morning, you're on the air. Good morning, caller. You'll hear me in a second.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm working on what you said, mount the horse.
I didn't say nothing. He said that.
I said, well, he's going to mount something.
Okay.
Well, it's coming soon.
Okay. What's
you
up?
should see what happened to that horse.
Uh-oh.
But anyways, Lynette, are you there?
Yes.
And are you able to put a flash drive in for the Christmas show and show it on the screen back there?
No,
the
we're not able
laptop's
to.
broken. We're working on it. If anybody wants to donate an old laptop with HDMI out to Jim because he doesn't want to buy a new one, we'd love to have it. Just if anybody's got an old laptop.
So what happens here? I need a laptop?
Bring a laptop with HDMI out, or unless somebody wants to donate one.
Well, I'm going to bring my laptop. Are we able to put
Yes, we got
all my work on?
Yeah, we
Huh?
can do that. Yep, as long as we have the cables. You just bring the laptop.
Okay, so Lynette, you'll be able to do this if I bring a laptop.
Yes, I will.
Apparently,
Okay,
MX has
thank you.
invited himself to the station, so yes. But bring a laptop and we'll hook you up.
Okay, now that's a promise. I
yes, that's
did
a
a lot of
promise.
work into this.
Yeah, we will take care of it.
Okay.
I don't know what's going
you
on,
won't
but-
be there. You won't be there. Lynette will be there. You got the USB cable?
Yes, we have USB cables and HDMI's. Just bring a power cord.
Okay.
Bring a mouse though too. Bring a mouse and a keyboard. Okay. Okay, is that it? Okay, yeah. Bring your laptop. We got you covered, MX. Okay, so I'm gonna get into this. Can I get into this now? Okay, you ready?
Real quick, just a point of privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Liam is watching, and he should be getting ready for school, but he's watching YouTube in the morning.
He's watching
So,
YouTube. Does he have the
Liam-
app and everything? Tell him to stay out of the chat room. It's not. not good
Yeah.
for you.
Stay off the chat,
Stay
Liam.
off the chat. Okay, so Bob, let me refresh here.
So as Chuck is stretching, we're
Okay.
getting ready to talk about trains and
Okay, I'm
things.
ready. I stretched.
Okay.
Okay. So last Thursday, our friends at the South Shore had a stakeholders meeting. So what that means is that they invite the people that they decide are supporters of their endeavors, and they have these private meetings. Just like many other organizations, they have stakeholder meetings. What that means is that the public doesn't get invited. If you are not in favor of these projects, you're not invited. They're not broadcast to the public. And so they have these stakeholder meetings, and the irony is always that the people who have the most at stake are not invited to these meetings. So the South Shore had a meeting. They called it the stakeholder meeting, the 20-year plan. There was a great irony that they held a meeting on Thursday to talk about their future, because at the same time, the main line wasn't running because they snagged a wire. The new extension wasn't running because it's 6 months behind because somebody put 25,000 incorrect ties down. Yet they had a meeting on Thursday to talk about spending more of your money. So I think, Bob, I can say you are, if they're talking about pushing the train down to Lowell, you as the council president are a stakeholder, but you weren't invited to this meeting. We have no idea why.
Correct.
Could be any reason. So people like even Bob, who's a councilman whose town would be affected by pushing the train down to Lowell, was not invited. Somebody from Dyer was invited.
My caveat with this. Now, you let me know if I'm allowed to interrupt.
Yes, you
this,
can.
Or if you want me to save
You
my
should have like a flag.
comments to
Go
the
ahead.
end.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'll raise my
Yes.
hand. Someone from Dyer was invited. The town the town managers. It looks like the
town managers.
The town managers.
But I also saw mayors and people being invited, and you were not. Mayors of towns that weren't affected were invited, and you were not.
And my guess is that there was a thought, because I'm thinking of the devious side of things here. My guess is that they thought, we'll just invite these people because it's easier to have one person on the team's meeting than 6. And we don't want a bunch of people chiming in.
But if you're having a meeting that will affect entire communities, I feel like the community should have the option of at least listening in, at least recording it. Everything gets streamed except for stuff like this. So the South Shore had a meeting on Thursday. At the same time, their current train wasn't running. None of their trains were running as they were having a meeting. I, of course, sent many messages out to people. I said, hey, I think it's finally time that we talk about the next phase of the train, because you guys are obviously pushing it. I invited many of the cheerleaders and many of the people that are involved, everybody that always tells me I'm wrong. I always say there's always a seat here at WJOB for you. I even reached out to Nicole Barker at NICD. I said, Nicole, we'd love to have you to talk about the current state of things at NICD. She sent me a very nice, detailed response. So, for instance, I invited her on. She said no. She said, your recent coverage of the Westlake Corridor and related initiatives has included statements that are inaccurate and often presented in ways that appear intended to mislead listeners to negative, inaccurate, and unfounded conclusions. Negative and unfounded conclusions. She says that they are actively developing an updated 20-year strategic plan. The process is underway. They're excited, but they're not ready to talk about it. But luckily for you, I am ready to talk about it.
Well, and I am too.
Here, let me finish her email, and then we can chime in. We remain committed to transparency and welcome opportunities to speak with the media that engage in accurate reporting and good faith dialogue. If, in your case, we see that the environment changes, we would be open to reconsidering participation in the future. So understand what that means. If you play ball, if you are a cheerleader, if you say everything they do is transformational, they will talk to you. And you can come on and you can talk about how great everything is. And we don't talk about the delays, and we don't talk about how everything's over budget and how everything is doubled in cost. As long as you're willing to say publicly everything is great and transformational, they will talk to you. If you present inaccurate and misleading statements, in their mind, they don't want to talk to you. Now, here's one of the things, Bob, as a representative of a town. If somebody was out there saying misleading things about Bob or Dyer, I feel like you'd be the first one to say, hey, that's misleading. I want to come on your show and talk about it and clear the air as to what's misleading. But here's the problem. They know that what I'm saying is not misleading and inaccurate. They know that the reason I know these things is because I'm the only one that has read those thousands of pages of studies and DEIS and FEI. I'm the only one who's read it, which is why I'm confident. When I tell you these things on these airwaves, when people call me, I go on YouTube, I am confident that my statements are accurate. I was there and saw them ripping up 25,000 ties, so don't tell me that's inaccurate. I was there when they said it was a $500 million project that's now a $1 billion project. Don't tell me that's inaccurate, because I was there at all the meetings. And by the way, at the meetings, when you said, hey, I have concerns, they shoved you into a corner and said, no, we're not talking about that. When the newspapers wrote hundreds of articles about how great this was going to be, never once mentioned the cost overruns. I don't even know if they ever wrote about the 25,000 ties or the transformers or all of the ridiculous things that have happened in this $1 billion boondoggle. How dare you talk about things going wrong? We only talk, this is a Wendy's, sir. We only talk about good things. We only talk about how great and transformational it is. We don't talk about the fact that half the people aren't going to be riding. We don't talk about the fact that we're cannibalizing half the ridership. We're not talking about the fact that nobody's going to be riding this train because nobody's riding post-COVID. We're not going to talk about that. We're only going to talk about how great and transformational it's going to be. So what I want you to know this morning is that there is a plan. The current project isn't done. The main line still has all the same problems, yet they want to push this project. We can't show the graphic, but I have it. Somebody sent me this image of the 20-year plan. So they have plans. They're discussing moving the train. They obviously want to push the train down to Lowell. We know about that. They're talking about expansions to Valpo, to Crown Point, to Lowell.
What does the fine print say next to the end of the Lowell Spur, though?
Oh, yes. Somebody was joking with me. He's like, don't worry, they'll eventually push it to Indianapolis. And in the fine print here on the map, it says at some point they're considering pushing the South Shore all the way down to Indianapolis. A worthwhile endeavor to have an electric train that would run, what is that, 100 plus miles, whatever it is, I don't know. So that's where we're at. You have a train that's behind schedule, a train that's doubled in cost. You have a main line that wasn't running, and yet they're having stakeholder meetings in private about how to spend billions of dollars more. And so I want to come out publicly and say, I failed you the first time. I failed you the first time in stopping the first phase of this boondoggle to Munster. I worked so hard. So many people came and helped me. We tried to save the homes. We tried to save the $1 billion, and I failed you. But I'm looking at this camera, and I'm telling you, we're not failing this time. We are not going to let them build another inch of rail over my dead body. So that means either I'm dead or we're building. It's not happening. I am devoting what energy I have left to preventing them from building another inch of rail in my lifetime. Rant over, Bob.
We had. Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack. Go ahead.
There is a lot to unpack, and I was not a fan of the idea of the extension anyway in the first place.
Were you a fan when it was $500 million? At what point did you say I'm no longer a fan?
Not then. At some point, there was a switch that flipped where this was a foregone conclusion. This was going to happen no matter what. I will say taxpayers are funding this, even though the construction is done. The amount of subsidy that
you are bonding this. We are using 30 years of future casino revenue, local option income tax revenue. There are a lot of voodoo economics that go into funding just this first 8 miles.
There is, and we had a but to speak of this next phase, this next 20 years. I got to tell you what here. This is the radio show. This is not a paid campaign advertising. None of that stuff.
This is Bob.
But this is just Bob. I will fight this tooth and nail. The extension of this through Dyer would be devastating to the town of Dyer. We would lose hundreds of homes. We would lose so much in the town of Dyer.
You would lose
You can't possibly fathom how destructive this would be to the town of Dyer to expand this down south and then through St. John all the way to Lowell. People do not move to Lowell because they think, oh, I'm going to have a train station here. You need to stop with that nonsense. One of my concerns is that in the first 6 months, they're going to boast extreme ridership out of the Munster-Dyer location. And it's not that it's extreme ridership, it's that they're now not going to
You're
Hammond or
cannibalizing
Chicago.
half of your riders. You're cannibalizing
and so
half of your
I just it should not go any further south. I'm telling you guys, folks in Dyer, St. John, drive up to Munster, look where the track is, and then open up Google Maps, and then take your finger and drag it down and see all the homes that would be bought and taken out for this.
Right, Bob.
Oh, that was a fist bump there. And so we had, I think we had 7 or 8 on the Dyer side that was taken out for.
Yeah, you had that along Sheffield.
Yeah.
Again, people, those were families. I met those people. They were the ones that walked into Protzman and saw a red X on their house. Nobody bothered to tell them, hey, by the way, your house is at risk. I literally was there. They walked in and said, well, I guess that's it. There's a red X over my house. That's not how you find out that somebody's taking. That's not the right way to do that. And I was disgusted before that to see the elderly couple that walked into a room and saw a red X on their house, and that's how they found out. No, man. No, that's not how we do things.
Yeah, and again, it's offensive that there are meetings of unelected people making decisions for communities, and there's no recourse for it.
So-
It is offensive. As someone who had to knock on 6,000 doors and get 50% plus one to come out on a cold November to say we want you to represent us, and then to not include us, shame on you. Stay out of Dyer.
So, man, Bob getting worked. This is how you know that things are serious. Bob is getting worked up. So understand this, and this is what it took me a long time to get this through to your elected officials, is that once this starts, this is you have no control. Bob does not get to say, here's what we're going to, here's how
No,
big
we
the
signed on to
station-
that bogus agreement.
the
where
local
we're get-
option, the interlocal agreement, which was a deal with the devil that you guys are stuck with now.
Totally bogus. And if it was for construction, when do we get that money back? Call in 219-845-1100. Let me know when I can tell Dyer residents that we're done subsidizing construction.
And you know why? Because once you sign down to that interlocal, they got you. You guys are paying for this forever. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. I'm going to reset. I'm going to go get some fresh air, and then we're going to take some calls. We want to hear from you. How excited are you to push this train down to Lowell and Crown Point and Valparaiso? We'll be back with more after this. 7:32 here in the region. Let's take a quick look at traffic and weather. Before we get into it, we got a full boat of callers for some reason. I don't know why. Let's take a quick look at traffic and weather. Traffic still continuing to look good here in Indiana. 80, 94, 65, Skyway Toll World, all looking good. Your big problem right now is the Dan Ryan. Things are getting heavy from the merge all the way in. So just sit back, relax, enjoy the traffic, enjoy the show. Everything else in the Chicagoland area, the 94s, 294, 394, everything looking good. Your only problem spot at the moment is the Dan Ryan inbound. How is the weather?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 14 degrees with highs of 24 and lows of 17. It's going to be very cold with intervals of clouds and sunshine, and then later tonight will be mostly cloudy and not as cold. And then Tuesday we'll be having highs of 39 and lows of 33. Should be mostly cloudy, breezy, and not as cold. And then Wednesday we'll be having highs of 36 and lows of 15. Should be cloudy and breezy with a couple of snow showers and mixed with early rain.
Fantastic.
Now
Thank
hang
you.
on before we go.
Go ahead.
The Zoom thing is funny.
Okay.
Zoom thing, and this is why I can have a quasi rant about the trains and not stroke out, and you can't because I find humor in things.
Well, Jim always talks about entertaining the kids in the back seat with his stuff, and so if that entertains the kids in the back seat. So we do have a special guest who's not going to talk until after we take some calls. So I know we've got a full boat. So let's go ahead. What say you callers? Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
I wasn't even done, Chuck. I was going to talk about the train.
Well, now you can. Now we're not going to talk about HDMIs and laptops. We can talk about. He's here. Go ahead, Alex.
I see you're getting your show hijacked, huh? But anyway, all you
I'm
people,
pressing one like
you guys
crazy
are gonna ruin
right
my
now.
good segment. Go ahead, Emma.
all you people that moved way out there, I'm laughing now. MX, you got to move way out to St. John and that. There's no trains. Where are you going to move to next, Chuck? If you got to get out of Lake County, period, before they tax you to death. Really, seriously. Like Bob Starkey said, this is going to be a mess. Nobody goes to Chicago. Jed says he don't want to drive the train. What are we putting another train up for? This leads into, you know what? So what? So we get the red district. But there has to be term limits. Because somebody like Visklosky that was in there so long that really doesn't know what's going on has put Lynette and her people in what would you call it, financial debt forever. We've got in Hammond now, because of this train, our water bill went up. We got a food and beverage tax. We got a local city tax because of this train, and we also got a wheel tax. This is ridiculous. We talked about this, Chuck, about what's going to happen and all the new taxes you'll get for this train. Oh, I think they took $30 million from us. Okay, from Hammond.
27 million.
But the point,
we want to be accurate. So it's 27 million, and the food and beverage tax specifically was for the new station.
What you don't understand,
fair and accurate. Go ahead.
But you don't understand. We paid $3.5 million to the RDA now.
No, that money's gone.
From the
that
casino.
Money's gone from Hammond, Gary, and East Chicago.
Every year.
In
every
perpetuity
year.
for the train. That money's gone.
So McDermott's been in there 10 years. He paid longer than that. Let's just say $30.5 million. He throws another $30.5 million in there, and we're so far in debt, $241 million in debt, that we shouldn't be. We should have never put this train deal together. And I do believe that if McDermott would against the train, he would have been congressman. I seriously believe that.
Oh,
but
very, very possible.
Now we're stuck with. I'll be dead in 10 years. But people like Lynette and what's her name, Adriana.
And this is what I said from the beginning, MX. I said
you put him in there?
The people supporting this project are the ones that aren't going to be around to pay for it, and that's the problem, right?
Hey, can I talk yet? Or
no, not till we take calls. So
no,
MX,
no,
go ahead.
Hijacking the show. No hijacking the show.
Okay, so let me. Thank you, MX. Let's take the next caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
How you doing, Chuck?
We're good. How are you?
That's issue.
Let me say this much. you can have an issue with the cost overruns, and I mean, you might be justified in this, but I'm also one who has used the South Shore Line on a number of occasions, commuting back and forth between Indiana and Illinois, because I have a brother that lives here in Illinois, and I also have a brother that lives in Griffith. So
you took the train to Griffith? No, you can't. You took the train to North Hammond.
I take the train to East Chicago, and I meet my brother in East Chicago, and then we ride back to Griffith. So, I mean, I tend to use that as a service when I want to visit my.
So here becomes the question.
Here's a year. When I want to visit my brother in Illinois, and then these days, now that I'm living in Illinois, I use it as a service.
So here's the question. That even if you use the train, here's the question. They spent $1 billion+ upgrading the main line. They just spent $1 billion on the extension that still isn't running. So this becomes the question: is how many hundreds of thousands of dollars per person do you want to spend on a project like this? And this becomes the question: is imagine if we took, like MX was saying, the tens of millions of dollars. Imagine if we use that money to expand bus service. Imagine if we use that money to have van pool so that little old ladies can get to the doctor, right? I mean, that becomes the question: is we're spending over $100,000 per new rider for this extension. At what point do we say that's too much money to spend on one person to take the train from Munster to downtown? That becomes the inherent issue, is when this train was $500 million and now it's $1 billion, the cost per rider has doubled. At what point do we say this is too expensive? This does not make sense for a couple thousand people to get from Munster to downtown. That's the question. How much is too much?
And again, I'll admit that's a legitimate question, but I wanted to at least throw out there that don't make it sound like there's no one riding the train.
No, there is. There's a couple thousand people. There's a couple thousand people. The numbers are half of what they were pre-COVID. They're slowly recovering. They will never recover because those people stopped taking the train 5 days a week, just like myself. Many people are not going downtown every day like they used to, so the ridership will never recover to where it was pre-COVID. And that's just reality.
I mean, you never know.
I do know. I do know because nowhere in the country has ridership recovered post-COVID. But that becomes the question: is how much more do we want to spend, and how much per rider do we spend? And that becomes the inherent question. And bigger than that, if we're having discussions about the next 20 years and about spending billions more dollars, should that be a public meeting? Should everybody be involved in that, or should it be a secret stakeholder meeting that only certain people get involved in? Should the public at large be allowed to have a say in this, or just a handful of stakeholders? That's my question to you.
And I'll admit, I've kind of even talked with people on Griffith's town council about it, and I'll admit it's kind of hard to say exactly what everybody's risk tolerances is when it kind of comes to something.
Well, and
like
that becomes the question. But I do need to move on because I want to bring Jim in. So I appreciate the call, but you bring up Griffith, which is important because Griffith did something amazing. Griffith actually had open discussions. Rick said, we're going to let the people of Griffith come and decide whether we support the train or not. The people overwhelmingly said we're not. And so the town of Griffith, just like the town of St. John, did not sign on to the interlocal agreement. They did something crazy. They actually listened to the taxpayers, to the constituents, whether we want to support the train or not. Okay, next caller. Good morning.
Hey, I got $1,000 that last Democratic cheap ass hasn't ridden the train more than 7 times in his entire
and that becomes the thing.
life.
All these people that are like, the train will be so great, I'm going to ride it one time a year to go to Macy's or go to the Cubs game. You're going to ride it one time a year, and that justifies spending $1 billion. And again, these are the people that aren't paying for it.
I went and saw my brother-in-law in Illinois, and I saved like 3 cents on gas, and I didn't have to move my car. Hey, listen, go get a job, you dork. Now, number one, Jimmy, or not Jimmy. Hey, kick Jimmy back out, will you? What is this lady's name and phone number at work, which you're perfectly allowed to put on the air, because I've got a pre-FCC, what would you call it, like a doctorate in FCC law from Our Lady of Grace in Ireland when I was in 8th grade. So what's her name and number so we can get this thing going? Because it's not $1 billion, Chuck. It's 1.6, and you know that. And by the way, Jimmy, remember when you were I remember when you had a skirt on and pom-poms going, yay, the train is coming. I'm going to I'm in Munster. I'm going to ride it all day. And then Jimmy wants a bike path that goes right to his driveway because he can't ride down Ridge Road, take a left at Calumet to go see kids play baseball. God,
Okay, so
yeah,
I will just say if you are concerned about the South Shore having secret meetings without you to talk about the next 20 years, you just call them and say, hey, I want to talk to whoever's in charge here. You call
What's
them.
their number?
Their number is 219-926-5744. Just call them and say, I'd like to talk to whoever is in charge of planning the train because I, as a taxpayer.
926, what's the rest of that one more time there, brother?
That was 219-926-5744. So you call the South Shore, tell them you'd like to talk to them about having secret meetings without you to talk about how to spend your money for the next 20 years.
That
voice you hear.
And if that dork who called in needs a ride, tell him to take the train from his house to the
You can take the train to the Dune Park meeting. Okay. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Okay, I don't know what's going on here, but chaos is certainly erupted. Okay, so
can I speak
yet? The boss is here. We have taken
What about
phone
Bob
calls.
Starkey?
He's here. He's along for the ride. He's
you
on
know
the
what
phone.
he's doing?
He's in a Teams meeting.
He's calling 219-845-1100.
I have been on hold for 15 minutes trying to get a word out.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do.
He's like, he and I are looking at each other. It's like,
I warned you guys all. I warned Bob for like 2 days. I said the rant is coming. There's nothing you can do. Just sit back and enjoy.
I feel like
the
I'm listening in 2017 when
again, but here we
talk
are.
every day about the train.
History is cyclical. Here we are, 10 years later, talking about the train again because they want to spend billions more dollars.
Can I ask you
now
one question?
Hang on. So that voice you hear is the boss. The boss is here. He wants to chime in. So I'm going to take a breath.
You asked me.
So you chime in. Go
ahead. Here's the deal. I love this role, by the way. I didn't have to get up early.
No, you love just popping in,
I scratched myself and laid in bed. I waited for the wife to wake up. Can I make you coffee, honey? And then come in here. But I didn't realize. You see, I saw him Saturday, right? Pulling. And I'm like, Chuck, you can't wear that shirt anymore. It was your kids in middle school. It's 2 sizes too small. It's wrinkled. And it probably smells.
At least I combed my hair.
It came with a free cup of soup.
This is a comfy shirt.
Hey, I got to ask you guys a question.
Yeah. Go ahead. Deep thought.
Because you guys are both there. I just had someone send me the article from the Indy Star that the House of Representatives in the state of Indiana passed the new banana-shaped congressional district. And I had Weezer on here, and I'm like, well, Weezer, do you think Hal Slager and Julie Altoff are going to vote for that? And Weezer said, you know what he said? He goes, well, I think they'll give them cover so they have enough votes, so they'll tell them that they don't have to vote for it.
So we were having
and they voted for it.
They voted for it.
Wow. So House voted 57-41 in favor of the new maps crafted to produce a 9-0 Republican delegation by carving up the districts currently held by Democratic Representatives Andre Carson and Frank Mervan. The Senate vote will happen sometime today.
And Weezer was so on point. And I was like, man, you're wrong. There's no way they're going to do this, especially after Mitch Daniels wrote that article and gave him some cover.
Yeah, but I don't think.
So here's the thing: you guys are going to talk about this.
Now.
You guys are going to talk about this after I leave.
Now.
I'm going to go.
What is my role here? I'm not.
You guys
really
are going to talk about redistricting.
It's your show. You asked me. So what do you want?
You're derailing.
You didn't even address your shirt.
It's 10 degrees out. It's dressed for it to be 10 degrees.
You know what?
So
Lynette,
we're going to listen.
I'm going to give you the card. Can you order a couple? I think it's just 1X. It might be 2Xs.
It might be a 3.
All right.
2 is good.
But we need some new flannels for him. Is that okay?
Why don't you order a laptop instead of worrying about my damn flannel? Worry about a laptop.
I mean, literally, go to WJOP 1230
Go to Best
on YouTube
Buy and order a laptop.
And go, hey, man.
With HDMI out.
You remember when your son was in 8th grade and then you went into his closet and took one of his flannels? Well, you got to give it back.
Comfy. Okay, so you guys are going to talk about redistricting in the 8 o'clock hour.
Because you're talking about the train.
So we're talking about the train. There we go.
Aren't you Dyer? Aren't you guys getting a train right now? When's that opening?
Are you guys getting a train? Maybe next year. We don't know.
You know,
we still lights up.
it's a really beautiful parking lot on Manor in
It's
Munster.
beautiful, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Bob
I mean,
Rupp might
it looks fantastic.
It looks, unbelievable there in Hammond, too. All I think of is when I drive by that on my bike over like a $6 million bike bridge, all I think of is Chuck Pulley.
See how this guy's trying to give me a heart attack? He's like, why are you all worked up? I wasn't worked up till you got here and started talking about bike bridges and train stations. Do we have calls or no? We have. Is it all Bob? Okay.
On
So
all
you
my
had
phones.
you had your chance to chime in. You guys can talk about redistricting after 8 o'clock.
We
Let's take some
can.
calls.
He's talking to ourselves.
Good morning,
there.
caller. You're on
Yeah.
the air. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, guys. I thought you had the couch in front of the door. You let D'Lo in?
He
He
climbed
snuck
over.
in the back. Yeah.
He climbed over.
I came to do some work, and he called me in. All
No,
right?
I said if you're going to talk about it.
No,
then-
he came to do some work, but we had to throw him on air because if you don't see him, then we're not on the radio.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make it quick to get the other callers. Listen, you brought up bringing that train down to Indy. You know how many students fly into Chicago and have to get away from Chicago down to Purdue or IU? You run that train down to Indy, stop in Lafayette. I bet you have more riders than you've ever had before.
Well, okay,
It's,
so that
I don't know.
and there is a bus line. There is a bus
Because the
that goes
state-
from
oh, yeah.
Lafayette.
The
But
state-
here becomes the
state
question.
can't keep Wait,
So
hold on. You said there's a bus line, but the state can't keep 65 or 41 open between the ice and all the semis wrecking each other. There's no way to get down there.
So, mind you, the same day they had this meeting, the main line was closed because it was cold and they snagged the line. So that becomes the inherent question. If you're going to build this, shouldn't you make it reliable enough so that, when it's cold, the train still
That's because
runs?
you won't let them spend enough money. They need to
Oh, we
got to
spend more money. Right. Well, that's
service.
no, you're right. They should spend twice as much to have a diesel and an electric But okay, so how much do you
Indy's
think
the
it
way,
costs to
guys.
build this
Yeah,
line
let's go.
all the way down to Lafayette or Indianapolis? It costs into trillions. Look at California. They couldn't even build a couple bridges for a couple $100 billion, and they got nowhere. That's the problem. Is like, what's it going to cost to go down to Indianapolis? It's insanity. Go ahead. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Chuck. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, sir.
I had to
Café
call-
Pomonier.
I had to call not because of the train or the train trying to buy out people's houses, but I would suggest that people paint their roofs blue, just in case.
That would be great.
That would be
But-
fantastic.
You know what's really got like me like my jaw on the ground this morning? Mr. D'Lo telling Chuck about how bad he's dressing. Like, give me a freaking break.
What are you laughing about, Lynette? You cannot smile at that stupid joke.
That was a great joke. That was fantastic.
Look at me today, pal. I'm all dressed up.
You are
do.
fancy today, dude.
You've got a thing going on here.
You got all that streaming sports money coming in now. You need to start acting like the millionaire next door instead of showing everybody how successful you're becoming.
Hey, listen. Hey, do you ever take the train? I mean, you're living out like.
Look, man, I live in a community with a train station, and I like it. Okay, but that's me. I didn't move to Lowell to get away from people. I moved to Chesterton to get away from people, which is still connected to the city in a way.
So do you ever take that train, or do you know people that take it, or?
Yeah, okay, I'll take it occasionally, and I do know some people who take it on a regular. Yeah.
So how do you feel when you're on it? I mean, are you glad it's there, or do you curse the whole time up, saying, "Oh, it's too expensive, but I'm going to take it anyways"?
Well, it is. It's not the economical route to Chicago that it used to be, for sure. And I after seeing the last few months of riders getting stabbed in the neck or getting doused with gasoline, I'm not sure I'll ever get on that thing again, to be honest with you.
It's not my show. You got to follow up with a question there, Chuck, or
I agree. I mean, but that becomes the inherent question: is for the average person living in the suburbs, do you feel comfortable taking your family to the Chicago tree lighting ceremony, knowing that 9 people were shot after this year's event? Or do you feel comfortable taking the train downtown and transferring to an L train, knowing that there may be a random guy on there to set you on fire? That becomes the inherent issue: is do you feel comfortable? I am going downtown. I take that risk. Do I feel comfortable taking my family downtown to enjoy a day of Christmas? No, I don't feel comfortable as a parent doing that. And that's the problem.
Hey, Mont, good to hear your voice. I know I'm not supposed to talk, but it's still good to hear your voice.
You can't stop yourself from talking. Chuck can't stop you from talking. Chancellor Holford couldn't stop you from talking. Who's going to stop you from talking? Maybe your wife.
Just himself. Just himself is the only person that could stop him from talking.
All right, guys.
I appreciate the call. So good morning, caller. Next caller, you're on the air.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. So, I've been dealing with a huge predicament with the train itself. Especially for somebody who does take the train every day. I take the South Shore. I've been taking it for about the past couple of years now. I used to drive up to the city for over a decade, hitting up different hotels in the city and stuff. And I honestly don't think the issue is really the security of the train itself. I do think security does need to be an issue, especially with the unpredictability that could happen, such as the stuff that has happened on the CTA itself. I do have a predicament where the train has become so reliable to me, where I can't imagine having a job in the city without being able to make it to the train, especially when it takes about 2 hours just to drive up to the city itself, including all the stress that you have to deal with the cars and traffic.
Well, here becomes the question, though. Did you go to the city on Thursday? How'd you get there?
On Thursday, I didn't. That was the issue. And It shocked me knowing that we were asking for an expansion plan when they can't even get their own trains going at the start of the winter storm, So,
and this becomes a question. I had friends that got stuck in Hegewisch for 8 hours on a train on a hill, and instead of fixing that becomes the problem. Is do you make your service reliable enough that people can rely on your main line? Make sure your house is in order before you talk about expanding and spending another $1 billion. That's my main issue, is that what happens if you were here and the train wasn't running? I got stuck downtown several times. They said, sorry, train's not running today. Then what? Then you're calling a friend, taking an Uber to get home. That's not how this should work. And that becomes my main issue, is they've spent $1 billion on the main line. It still has reliability issues. I get emails every day about the reliability issues. This wire got snagged. We have PTC issues. We have mechanical issues. Get your house in order before you ask me for another $1 billion. That's my main issue.
Hey, caller, where do you get on?
I get on the South Shore off of on Hammond, Indiana. But
where do you drive from?
I drive from Munster to east to the Hammond station.
So here's the thing. So you will be riding. Over, right? So you will be one of the people that's cannibalized from the existing ridership. You will switch from getting on at Hammond now, and you will get on at Munster, right?
Possibly, yeah, definitely. I would be looking forward to that if it opens up anytime soon.
We all will. Trust me, yes. Yeah. And that becomes the question is, realistically, I don't know if you've seen the new schedule. The new schedule came out, and a lot of people are having issues with it.
Oh, yeah. The new schedule is pretty terrible, to be honest. Like, I'm shocked that there's only, at least 2 or 3 trains in the morning on the Munster stop before.
And these are things that people don't know. This $1 billion train, and there's only going to be 3 morning trains. I mean, it's insane. It's insanity. Go ahead.
Well, it's an issue that they put on that schedule so soon, too, before even getting the feedback, which is how they usually kind of build the schedule now, based on people's feedback and responses and how they complain about the timing of the schedule itself. So it almost feels like they're just throwing a dart against the wall with this schedule and wanting to deal with other people's problems later on.
And now that it's built and will eventually run, I hope for your sake as a commuter that I hope it's reliable. I hope that it doesn't have transformer issues. I hope that they create a schedule that works for you, because at that point now we've just thrown $1 billion away if it doesn't make sense for you to ride it. So
right. I guess the point I just want to put out is that even with the issues and the issues that it has, and even the controversy that it comes, it's for some reason for me it's such a reliable way of transportation compared to driving 2.5 hours, not knowing when I might be able to get to my start of my shift, compared to knowing that I will get there an hour through, at least crossing my fingers, 4 or 5 days out of the week. I know I will get there guaranteed, compared to unexpectedly knowing what's coming up for traffic on the road.
No, so, absolutely. And I hope that it works for you when they finally get it going. I hope that you get to use it.
I hope it works for me. That's the only issue. I hope that the new train is better. It works with the new line works with the line that's already a little iffy. So I don't
Right.
know.
Well, we spent $1 billion, so I hope it works. Otherwise, we just threw $1 billion away. So I do appreciate your input on it because I know that there are people that use it and rely on it, and that's great. My goal here is if you're going to spend the money, make something that people can use, and that's my main issue. So when that says we have to take a break, even though you guys all want to talk, we'll take a break. We'll be back with more after this.
Hey, everybody. For those of you watching on YouTube here, I'm your local barbecue expert, Brent. Sorry, Brent.
Are you making fun of Brent, man?
No, I'm not. I just had a
And
cowboy
he
hat
takes
on.
care of you. He's a local taxpayer.
He does. He
and
does.
He has a great
Brent, if you
establishment.
weren't watching the YouTube, you wouldn't have got it. But
I'm going to go into traffic and weather. I'm going to do a quick segment, and then Jed and Bob are going to talk redistricting. So let's take a quick look at traffic and weather. Traffic looking good here in Indiana, 80, 94, 65. All the area roadways looking good. The only real problem spot in Illinois is that Dan Ryan inbound from the merge on in is heavy. Other than that, things are looking good in Illinois. How is the weather?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 14 degrees with highs of 24 and lows of 17. It's going to be very cold today with intervals of clouds and sunshine, and later tonight will be mostly cloudy and not as cold. And then tomorrow and Tuesday we'll be having highs of 39 and lows of 33. Should be mostly cloudy, breezy, and not as cold. And then Wednesday we'll be having highs of 36 and lows of 15, and it should be cloudy and breezy with a couple of snow showers and mixed with early rain.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So we are taking your calls. We're asking you, should we spend another $1 billion sending the train down to Lowell? Should we spend another $1 billion sending it to Crown Point or to Valparaiso? Or should we say, look, enough is enough. get your house in order first, and then come back and ask us for money once you figure out how to run trains on a regular basis. So let's take some calls. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Hey, this is Brett,
Uh-oh.
the barbecue guy that's getting heckled on YouTube.
I know, right?
Hang on. Let me put on my Brent hat.
Man.
I got my Brent hat on now.
So, here's the thing. I don't care about the train. I don't think anybody does. Let's talk about the college football playoff travesty.
Okay, so that will save until 8:10. At 8:10, I will be out of here.
The dude's
Jed
been on hold for
and
like
Bob.
20 minutes.
Well,
all he wants to do is talk sports.
Hey, is this Brent?
It is.
Yeah.
All right, Brent, we'll call you back when we have real radio. Right now, it's train radio. Hey, by the way, can I give a shameless plug? We got a Brent turkey for Thanksgiving, and my wife made one, and my brother-in-law made one. And yours was probably the favorite, Brent. Sorry.
Don't get Alexis mad at me.
I'm not going to
say. And can I say, though, Brent,
second.
they want to put this train right near your establishment, so you should think about that because it will affect traffic and it will have all kinds of effects on Dyer in the future if they do decide to push it through Dyer as they plan. It will go right by your building. Will that be a good thing or bad thing for you? I don't know. But, again, it does affect people. So keep that in mind.
But the turkey is fantastic. It really is.
Go ahead, Brent.
So in relation to where the current station is now, Bob, where would they route it through Dyer?
Really, the easiest thing that I can tell folks to do is go take a look at where it's at now, pull up Google Maps, and then just draw a line and follow the train tracks south.
So basically follow Sheffield Avenue, goes by Taylor.
I don't know how they do it without taking out Barbary Apartments, all of those homes along Harrison, through Public Works. Once they get south of 30, I think they've got some property that's a little clear around Calumet, but then they get into St. John and they start taking even more.
So,
Bob, as one of our government overlords, I think the words you're looking for is eminent domain.
And so that becomes the question is, like I said, Brent, 140 or so people lost their homes in the first project. People that lived in Dyer didn't get notified. They literally walked into a room and there was a red X on their house. And they said, well, I guess that's it. They're taking our house. And it was heartbreaking to see that. And that's always been my issue is how they approach these projects. This idea that, an elderly couple walks into a room and finds out their house is being taken. And that house is now, basically an empty field. That's unfortunate. But that's sort of the question is how many houses is it worth? How many houses do you take? How much does it cost? That's the questions that we should be asking before and not after.
Hey,
what's and I don't, I'm kind of like the person that you referenced earlier. We typically take it every year to the Chicago Blues Fest because it's really easy to get in and out through the parking. But I don't normally ride the train. But what's the ridership per dollar spent?
Well, and this is right, Brent. And so this is the thing. Ridership has been down post-COVID, is not recovered. And so that becomes the question is when you're talking about building, when government is talking about spending money, what is an appropriate subsidy? And in my mind, doing some rough math, we're at $100,000 plus per new rider. Is that an appropriate amount to spend to get somebody downtown? And will we ever see a worthwhile return on that investment? It's kind of like the idea of, let's say 10 people lived on an island somewhere and government said, we're going to spend, $100 million building a bridge so that those 10 people have a quicker drive, into their neighborhood. Like you say, wait, that's too much money to spend for 10 people. And that becomes the question. Like, are we looking at, are we just saying, hey, we're just going to spend the money? Or are we saying, what is the per person subsidy? What is the return on spending that $100,000 plus per new rider? At what point do you say, no, that's too much for a couple thousand people to get to Chicago? That's the problem. We don't have those discussions until it's too late.
Well, so what is what's the demand or why is this being considered? Is there any like data
Because,
that says
honestly,
if,
I believe
if we put this here, it will benefit someone, or is it, hey, let's just roll the dice and see if we can build it and they will come?
I think that's what it
doing?
is, because there is no argument, and now I'm sure they're going to find one person who lives on Washington Street in Lowell that's just dying for the train to come down there. But you don't move to Lowell because you're hoping that a train station's going to be there. And I think it's the new stations in Munster and Munster-Dyer. It's only going to be a shift of riders.
Half
now
of
Dyer
the
folks
new riders,
aren't they don't need to
yes.
drive to Hammond, East Chicago to get on the train. They just got to roll up Calumet or Sheffield. So I don't even know that you're going to get a bunch of new riders. I think it's just going to be a shift on where they get on.
It's so difficult for me as the police of the FCC arm to hear you keep saying the word shift. It's very close.
Shift.
I got to take a shift over, and the next one comes.
So, Brent, that's the argument. It's like, what are you spending to get new riders, and are you just making? I mean, and that becomes the question: is what is the number? When it was $500 million, maybe it made sense, and then it got to $1 billion. Does it still make sense? And that's the problem: is nobody's really asking those questions, and they're having these meetings kind of in private. They're not. The public isn't really invited to be a part of the discussions of, do we need this? Should we or should we not? They're just sort of like your point. We're gonna roll the dice. We're gonna build this and hope enough people ride it to make it make sense.
Well, I mean, I can say I'll be more likely to use it to be able to pop down Ridge and hop on it. I mean, I drive between Munster and Milwaukee probably more than anyone on earth. I think I did the math. I've made that trip a little over 1,000 times. If I was going to the city, now the question is, since I've had kids, I rarely, before we had kids, we used to go to the city to go out to dinner and go to shows and stuff.
Right.
And my life has kind of changed. I don't really do that much anymore. But for me, it was like, oh, I've got to drive all the way to East Chicago, then get on the train to go downtown. It's easier just to drive downtown for me. I mean,
right.
In my head, whether that's the reality or not, I'm like, if I'm going to drive for 15 minutes, I'm going to drive for 30. I'm just going to go on downtown, right? So I might be more likely to use it than it's in Munster, but I guess I would question how many people that live in Lowell regularly commute downtown for work every day.
Well, and that becomes a question: is will
7.
there be? Yes, and so that becomes the question: is whether you're
those
talking
people
about
are really excited about it,
right? So those 7 people. So we're going to spend another $2 billion. So that those 7 people have the option.
The taxpayers of Lowell would be better served by buying the Ubers daily for those folks than getting stuck into these god awful agreements that a town like Dyer's stuck in, where we're going to be paying hundreds of thousands of dollars every year for years. Better off just buying these folks an Uber.
That was a great comment.
Okay, so
hey,
Brent,
hey, can I say something? That
yes, Chuck's 10 minutes are up.
Is Brent gone?
Yeah, Brent. Yeah, well,
no, I'm here.
He's still there.
All right, so Brent, where were you at the SWAT fundraiser on Friday?
I've been in Milwaukee. I'm on my way back from Milwaukee right now. We actually did our own fundraiser for a fallen officer yesterday in Milwaukee that we've been planning for months.
All right.
So
all right, yeah, that takes precedence. But I went to the can you go read my Substack? I went to the SWAT fundraiser. What a great time, by the way. And
was it crazy? It was last year. It was totally packed.
It was packed. They packed Hard Rock, right? So afterwards, I walk out, and Nick Olikovich goes, "Hey, Jed, you're the Grateful Dead guy. Why aren't you over there watching Mr. Blotto?"
Mr. Blotto was at the casino?
Yeah, right there on
Wow.
And it wasn't the big one. It was the kind of big stage they have. And I walked up, and I go, "Honey, you have no idea how we got to go see Mr. Blotto." So we walked across the casino, and they did a version of Brown-Eyed Women that was unbelievable. I mean,
that's a great band.
It really is.
That's a great band.
There were a number of Deadheads there, but it wasn't as crowded as I thought it would be.
Oh, hey, and so actually I can bring this back to the train. So the lead guitarist and singer for Mr. Blotto is the guy that does the Grateful Dead for kids when they have it at Thalia Hall, coming up here towards the little bit closer to Christmas. But we
Bill
take our
Murray's
kids
coming to Talia Hall. So that's all I got.
It's a great venue.
Oh,
so,
beautiful
and
venue.
we've taken our kids. I mean, since they've been little, to the Rock and Roll Playhouse. The really cool thing they do on Sundays, the Sunday mornings, the concert for kids, a little bit softer. You can have some Bloody Marys, and the music is really great. Jed, I've tried to talk you into going a few times, but I can't. The train does me no good going to Thalia Hall. It's nowhere near. You know what I mean? Like, that's one of the few times I do go into the city that I know I'm going, and it doesn't. It's not on the part of
and that's
not in the part of the
one
city
of
where
the greater
trains going.
questions, right? Is that are the majority of people going into the city going to downtown? People are not going to the Magnificent Mile. People are not working on Michigan Avenue the way they did. Thalia Hall's in Pilsen. I work in West Loop. Are the majority of people going downtown to do things other than something within walking distance of Millennium Station? That's one of the other questions that I have.
When is he doing this at Thalia Hall? Is that December 27th?
It may be. I'll send you a link.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
it looked like I wasn't going to be. I thought, you know what? I forgot. I've been to Thalia Hall several times. I forgot it was in Chicago. I thought you were saying it was in Milwaukee.
No, it's in Pilsen.
It's a great venue.
Yeah, I've been. All right. Well, I would love to. So what he's talking about is, for you deadheads, is you could take your grandkids or your kids if they're really little, and they play dead music, and the parents sit around, and you introduce them to just a cultural phenomenon that won't die.
Yeah, and it's kids. It's geared towards kids. They have like a person that's in between songs, and they do dances, and they have remember when you were in elementary school, they have the parachute, and everybody waves the parachute up and down while Mr. Blotto is playing. It's kind of great.
The only problem with this is if you know what Mr. Blotto is, it's
you're saying it's kid friendly.
That's
okay.
not a kid friendly name.
Well, okay, Brent, we appreciate the call. I got to get a few people, and then I got to get out of here. So let's take.
Go ahead.
What
I
happened
appreciate
to 10
it.
minutes of Chuck?
I know. Well, let's take some because you guys are talking. I'm trying to take calls. Good morning, caller on the air.
Mr. Blotto, isn't that in reference to taking some kind of hallucinogenic? Oh, anyway. Hey, I just wanted to know. I just wanted to know really quickly because I've got to go. I've got so much going on today. With all the people from Lowell and St. John that ride bikes all over the region, will there be a consideration for them, for example, being able to take more than 2 bikes per car on the new train?
No, look, it will be half of the train will be bike racks because again, there's nothing that says commuting downtown in the middle of December as putting 100 bike racks on a crowded train so that the people have to stand in a vestibule while we stare at empty bike racks that used to be seats. There's nothing better.
I'm just so tired of your logic. I think you need to lighten up, Chuck.
That was one of my straws was I literally remember standing in the vestibule of a train looking through the window into a sea of empty bike racks that used to be 3-seaters, hundreds of seats taken away from a rush hour train for bike racks, and the rest of us were standing in a vestibule questioning our sanity at that point. So what am I doing here, standing in a cold vestibule where there's all these warm bike racks that used to be seats because 100 people are going to take their bikes downtown to commute every day. And that was one of the points I said, I can't do this anymore. It is too draining on my soul. So,
as long as we got heaters for our bikes and things like that, so we can warm up on the train before we've got to, commute in the cold. I think that will solve the problem. So I'm pushing for that.
And you're solving global warming at the same time. You are a true hero.
Thank you for calling in with solutions and not problems.
Thank you.
Hey, I got to tell you, hey caller, have you been following this one dude who wrote the book? If someone builds it, we all die. It's about
AI?
The AI guy.
Oh, okay,
He's on every show. I've seen him 4 times.
Hold on, I got to reboot my computer and my video card because it crashed. That AI it's just going to solve everything. I'm sorry, I can't buy that line of crap. With the AI is going to solve everything. It can't build us a train now, can it?
No.
Well, let's ask it. I've not asked it yet.
No, but the iron workers and the carpenters and the laborers and electricians can.
Yes, they can, absolutely. Will they use AI? Possibly. I think they might use it for a little bit. But
maybe AI will remind them to use the right ties this time, so they don't have to tear 25,000 ties off.
Exactly.
So I'll ask AI, what ties should I use to avoid stray voltage issues if I'm building a new rail line?
What's wrong with you, man? You
So-
can't. Thank you.
It's like 3 hours of what's wrong
Okay,
with Chuck.
What's wrong with Chuck? That's a great name for this.
So
You know what happens when you wear a shirt that's too tight and it just
this
scrunches
shirt
your
is
body
so
up?
comfortable. Okay, Brad, I appreciate the call. I got to go, but they'll still be here. So let's take the last call, and I got to go. Good morning, caller.
I got stuff.
Chuck's got to run to Baby
you'll be
Gap to
fine.
get some more
You'll be here.
clothes.
Go ahead. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, Chuck, Bob, Jed.
Morning.
He's got to go to Baby Gap to get a new T-shirt. or a new
I hate
shirt.
all
I'm
of you.
sorry.
This is fine.
Here
This is
comes
fine.
Jed. Jed coming in to hijack another show. Nice. Jeez. Slow it down, right, Jed?
I
Let's
just want to
slow it
laugh.
down.
And he's
Oh my
he's
God!
good fodder.
Your producers are a third of your age. It's a fast-paced world, Jed. I think you're doing them an injustice by telling them to slow down. So, so anyway, I'm 60. I'm 62 years old. I've ridden the train 3 times in my entire life,
Right.
and the last time was to Michigan City because there was a pub crawl and I didn't want to drive. So, and I think, am I somewhat of a very small snapshot of people just don't ride the train? But I also look at the other side. Where's the largest growing demographic in Lake County, Indiana? South.
Right.
Lowell, Cedar Lake, right? Crown Point, even farther than Lowell. That's the mark, And all of you are right. It's just going to cannibalize the people that go to East Chicago and Hammond, right? They're just going to jump on at Munster. But this whole, and I'm all for TOD, right? But TOD was designed for metro cities, not suburbs. So the whole we're gonna live upstairs and we're gonna have a pizza place or a dispensary, on the first floor and live upstairs. It's just really, really not getting much traction. They tried it at Marina Shores. It didn't work. They tried it in Gary. They already tore down brand new buildings. I think a suburb is designed, it's post-World War II kind of concept. But
Right.
that's not a
Right,
not,
and
not an
that's-
inner city thing.
That's always been my argument. Is they say, well, Munster would say, what about Naperville? I said the train came first. The train came, and then the town grew up around the train, not the other way around. You don't build a town
Exactly.
and then shoehorn a train and then try to find a place for a TIF district. So you're going to tear down a business to build a new business. You're going
And
to tear down a
Naperville's a
family
perfect-
restaurant to build a chain restaurant. Make it make sense.
Naperville is the perfect example of a city growing around a train. You're
Right.
absolutely right.
The train came first, and the town came, and to shoehorn, just like Bob said, you're going to tear down hundreds of homes. You're going to disrupt an existing community to develop it. Like it's already developed. You don't need to tear it down to build it up
Right.
again. So I mean, that becomes a question.
Everything was inked, right? This whole project was inked way before COVID.
Right.
Who would have seen that 25% of the workforce is no longer going to Chicago?
Right, and I get it. You're already halfway through the project. COVID hits, but again, that should be a lesson and say, look, the world has changed. When you first proposed this project in 1992, people couldn't work from home. We didn't have the internet. People were still trading in the pits. The world has changed dramatically since 1992.
Right.
Do we still have the need for thousands of people to go downtown every day?
Well,
I don't
I
see
think
it.
we all know when it comes to dollars and cents, there's no anything public commuter, bus, trains,
Right.
that will ever be profitable, and the only way they could exist is federal subsidies, right? I mean that's been forever, and that's just not going to change.
But the question is,
Buses
how
and
much
trains
is too
are
much?
a
though?
loser.
I mean, it's fine to subsidize a ride, but when you're subsidizing it to the tune of $133,000 a rider, at some point you go, wait, that's too much. That's too
Chuck,
much.
I mean, when it comes to transportation, Chuck, this is where you and I somewhat disagree. It'll never be
right
a profit. It'll
But how
never,
much
ever.
is too
It
much?
never has been and
That's
never
the
will be a
question.
profit.
Hey,
Right.
listen. I just got a question for you, Dave. You got any flannels in your closet
Okay,
that someone gave you that were a little big on you? If you did,
actually,
drop
you
them
mean
over
like-
here
like-
for Chuck Pullen, will you?
So Dave, I
like
appreciate.
classic. Hey, I'm a large. I'm not a 2X.
All right,
I
see you. Bye.
appreciate the call. I gotta go. They're going to talk about the sports
About
ball
you.
and redistricting and about my flannel because that's important. That's what people care about. So thank you, Lynette. Let's take a break, and the boys will be back without me in a few minutes.
Blah.
Zoom.
Ele me significa. You know, technically, this is the fall of Chuck and Bob, right?
You'd think so. But really, it's just what's bothering Chuck for 3 hours on a Monday morning.
Hey, in terms of traffic, 294 around the city's moving along pretty well. 80 going east and west looks okay. And let me see the rest of it. I'm sorry. I had it up here, and then I went and started looking at silly memes. Your problem has been all morning long is that you take the Bishop Ford, it's good, and then all of a sudden the Dan Ryan's bad the entire way up. It would be a great day to take the train. It really would be.
Right now, poor Chuck is swerving
on
the road.
Chuck, if you're going downtown, you might want to take the train today because Dan Ryan's really bad. But the Skyway looks pretty good, but you still hit a bad Dan Ryan. And the Borman, I-65 are all moving along well. Lynette Lopez, are you keeping Chuck in check? Chuck in check?
Yep.
Sorry.
I wouldn't argue with her, would
Nah,
you?
I wouldn't.
No, wouldn't either. I would tell her to do the weather, though. How's that sound?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 15 degrees with highs of 24 and lows of 17. It's going to be very cold with intervals of clouds and sunshine. And then later tonight will be mostly cloudy and not as cold. Tomorrow and Tuesday we'll be having highs of 33 and highs of 39 and lows of 33. So it'll be mostly cloudy, breezy, and not as cold. And then Wednesday we'll be having highs of 36 and lows of 15. Should be cloudy and breezy with a couple of snow showers and mixed with early rain.
Hey, everybody, this segment is being recorded in early December. He is Bob Starkey. He's actually a Dyer councilman, but he's just here representing his own views. My name's Jim Deedlow, and we're just going to do a little 20-minute segment. If you want to call in, it's actually being recorded live on 219-845-1100. Bob Starkey, a Republican, your party's representatives passed redistricting, which would basically take our first district as kind of a rectangle and make it a banana, which reaches from here to Wabash, Indiana, 2 hours and 43 minutes away from here, just to the center of Wabash, not to the end of Wabash. It's about 3 hours from one end to the other. How do you feel about this?
Well, the first thing I will say is when I saw this map come out, your first thought is, of course, if they're going to redistrict, you need to go south and east because there's nothing to the west, so you have to go south and east to pick up the votes you're looking for. Now, what I will say is folks can go to Google, and you can just Google Indiana congressional maps from the last 50 years. And Congressional District 1 has had so many different shapes. It only looks somewhat rectangular now. I think it was the 80s or the 90s where we had a block here. We had a separation, then another block 30, 40 miles to the east. We've had it go all the way down to, I think,
north of Lafayette.
Yes. So, I mean, we've had it go all over. So to say that this would be the first time that, we're looking at this map and it looks gerrymandered. It's, there really is one political thing that elected officials get to do, and that is draw or redraw ward lines for congressional districts, congressional wards, all the way down to your precincts. And so it is a political process. You can debate whether or not you should do it mid-census like we're doing now. I don't see a problem with it, but yeah, I mean it does. It looks like a banana, but there's nowhere you got to go with it. You have to go down, and you have to go east.
Well, I mean, if it's for political reasons,
right,
which is what the representatives are saying,
right?
I thought this was not going to go through, and
we'll find out today if it fully goes through.
So just so everybody understands, here we are recording this on the morning that they're going to vote on it in the
December 8th.
So you will hear this after. So we'll analyze it, and these things will apply, but we won't know the answer. But there's a couple of things. First of all, I was so surprised that Mitch Daniels came out and put a major op-ed into the Washington Post, basically saying this is wrong, don't do it mid-census, and that B, there's going to be a major backlash if we do this.
I would agree with the possibility of the second part of that. But the first part, I don't quite. I don't buy you can't do this mid census. And here, I'll use this analogy for you. You're the sports guy, football. Halfway through a football game, you find out that the ball is deflated. Do you continue playing the game and just say, we'll fix it for the next game, or do you stop the game and you fix it? The thought with redistricting is that in other states, the way they have counted their population and the way they have then appropriated congressional seats to that is diluting the votes in place, diluting the voices of Hoosiers. Meaning, you'll have some place like Rhode Island that is sending all Democrat votes there, or all Democrat congressmen, not because the entire state votes Democrat. They vote 35, 36, 37% Republican, but because that's how they've counted their population centers to then award congressional seats, and that's how they've drawn the map. So nationally, the thought is that the voices of Hoosiers are being diluted by other states and the appropriation process. So in my estimation, changing this now is saying, look, the ball's deflated. We're not going to wait until the end of the game, meaning the next census, because I think one of the arguments of Mitch Daniels and some of the other state senators and state representatives was, hey, look, we're going to redraw the maps anyways, and we do that every 10 years, so let's just do that then. And it's like, well, that's a fair point, but I think it's more prudent to, if you see there's an issue, you should fix it. And I think that's what they're doing. Now, whether or not the Senate does that today, it's a much thinner margin in the Senate to do that. I think there was I think Governor Braun if I can pull this up here, Governor Braun was even again making promises to Trump over the weekend that he's got this, but that Senate's going to be tough.
Well, there's so much in what you just had to say, but President Trump came out this weekend and he named 3 Indiana senators, 2 of them from right here, who have been swatted.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, these guys have already gone through enough. I know Dan Durnell and Randy Niemeyer, both those are the 2 senators Rick Niemeyer. Yeah. I'm sorry, Rick Niemeyer. I always do that, and I apologize. But Rick Niemeyer, and these guys have gone through hell with this swatting thing, and now the president's the pressure. There could not be more pressure than when President Trump is pulling the whole mob on you to make sure you vote the right way today, because they both said they were, I don't know what's going to do. What's going to happen?
That's where I think, so he, to comment on your tweet, he tweeted out, I want to say the 9 senators, but 3 of them had been swatted. And I spoke with State Senator Dan Durnell for a little bit about a week or so ago, I think after the swatting incident. And I still think, and maybe this is splitting hairs, I do think we need to determine what swatting actually is, because there's a difference between actually being swatted, meaning people come to your house, knock down the door, drag you out, like what happened with, I believe it was Senator Good down in Indianapolis, versus there was a call and law enforcement gets in touch with the person and is able to determine that it's a hoax, and so nobody's busting down doors.
Well, what you're doing right now is, I think, what a lot of Republicans have been forced to do, which is kind of say, I may in the back of my, I don't know where you stand, but I may in the back of my head kind of agree with Daniels, but I can't turn away all of the the MAGA people that are listening right now, honestly, and may call in. And so I think that Indiana Republicans like Julie Althoff and like Hal Slager and like you have to kind of just like walk this tightrope, and it's difficult because if President Trump is calling for it and he's calling Dan Darnell and Rick Niemeyer out by name on a Sunday night, and they've already been swatted. I mean, if you just look at it from a strictly safety for your family,
yeah.
I mean, if they go down there and they vote against this and then it doesn't pass, I mean, what does that do to your family? Honestly, you got to think about that. And look at here. Julie Altoff voted for it. Hal Slager voted for it. I mean, at this point, you probably have more protection for your family by voting yes, because the people that have been coming after this are that.
Well, and some of that,
you got to think about that.
So there's that, but then I also look at you look at someone like a Hal Slager, who now has a primary opponent. You have groups like Turning Point coming in saying, we're going to spend 8 figures primarying everybody who votes no. So how much of it is a safety concern? How much of it is some like electoral preservation, versus, hey, I'm voting yes or no because this is what I believe.
Jim Weezer sat in the seat that you're sitting in right now. And I'm like, well, Weezer, what about like Julie Altoff and Hal Slager? If they vote for this, whoever primaries them, they're both kind of close district. They could get Democratic, could come up. And I think Slager I think he changed the district, which was smart. But,
Well, see, and
that
that's
was a smart
where
thing.
You change the district to make it better for you. I think she said we got 2 callers.
All right, we'll get to them in a second.
But that is an amazing point. Is when you redistrict, you shore up your district to make it better for you. Well, how then can you vote no, other than hanging your hat on I'm going to vote no because it's not the right time? I did it when you're allowed to do it, which is every census. But it is that.
You're tap dancing right now, like every Republican has to do that right now, because you have a lot of Republicans that are against this, and then you have a lot of Republicans that are for it.
Right.
And so you got to like, all right, well, here I realize this, but ultimately I'm for it or whatever. But Weezer said something that was interesting. He said, both Slager and Altoff, both those. Doesn't matter how you draw them; there's still possibilities for Democrats.
Yeah, they're
purple.
Districts.
They may downstate give them cover and say, "Hey, you don't have to vote for this because we know that some Democrat will come up and will use this against you over and over."
Well,
and that's what's going to happen because Altoff
Senator
and Slager.
Senator Darnell is in a very purple district. Dan's worked very hard for a lot of times. This isn't the he's a good, but
nobody
Dan,
works harder than him.
Dan works very well. I don't even want to say across the aisle. He just works for the people. He does a good job. But he also again, it's not just whether or not it's right or wrong as much as we think it should be. You have to think about all the other implications. So he's thinking about the safety of his family with
That's
the swatting,
number one.
electability. And it's he lives in a purple district, and is every mailer for the next 9 months just going to be coming from those the Mervan coffers, because that was one reason why Republicans never really put someone strong up against Visclosky, because we knew we could never beat Visclosky. But the issue is when those campaign war chests open up, it affects everybody down ballot. And I think that's one of the big things that is going around in places like Lake County, some of the other counties where it's not blood red like in 88 of the 92 counties. It's purple or it's blue. And Republicans really have to think, if we want to continue to represent places, people like Darnell, they've got a lot to weigh.
No, that's wrong. I think that in a weird way, the more that people go toward Governor Braun and Trump and the MAGA side, I think it actually strengthens the Republican hold on Indiana, because you could draw these districts where, like, I don't know. I looked at
Oh,
that thing and I'm like,
for those-
there's zero chance of now they're going to put up a good fight because
Oh, they are, but-
according to Weezer, he goes, dude, I don't care what people are saying right now, they're all going to fold, and I did not agree with them, and I'm like, what do you mean they're all going to fold? We just read Mitch Daniels' a piece in the Washington Post. He's giving a lot of people cover. He goes, you watch. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
By the way, you can go to the Weezer podcast and listen to it anytime on Apple or Spotify. So, in the end, here we are before the vote. What do you think is going to happen today?
Dead air. That's what people want to hear on the radio. I think it is going to pass, and I think it's going to be narrow. I mean, first off, there's much fewer senators, and the margin is very slim. I think it's going to pass because I think at the end of the day, there's going to be some folks that vote no. Some of the Republicans. For the purposes of this, I'm going to say we don't really care about the Democrat state senators because they're a foregone no. But it's the 9 or 10 Republican
and
state
two of them
senators.
are here being called out by President Trump. We are on the eve. This is a historic moment here in terms of how does Indiana send our people to the House? I'm with you on one part of this.
It'll be, because not only has he tweeted, but I also know for a fact that these senators have been on several conference calls with the president.
So
there's enormous pressure on these guys to do this.
So I'm with you about one thing. When you're in charge, you're in charge. The Democrats are all like, and even Mitch Daniels is like kind of siding with them on this thing. And I'm like, well, it all makes sense. But in the end, when you're in charge, you're in charge. I mean, you can do whatever the hell you want. And you got to remember that. That's the implications of voting.
Yeah.
It's like they're in charge. They can do whatever they want. We're in charge. We can do whatever we want. And I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing.
When I heard that Mitch Daniels came out with an op-ed, what'd you say, Washington Post or Wall Street, whatever it was.
It was a Post.
My first thought was, the amount of change that has happened in Lake County in the last 8-12 years. I don't know what weight an op-ed from Mitch Daniels is going to carry with any of the elected officials that are in trouble that now have to worry about this.
Amen.
And,
I mean,
and that's not to say anything, bad or negative or disparaging about Mitch Daniels. I don't know that is that really going to make anything float?
You know what? I tell the story a couple months ago. He doesn't talk to any media.
Right.
And, I'm like, come on, I'm doing this documentary about the flood. Mm-hmm. And, can you give us an interview? And I don't know how he said yes, but he did. And so I got to go down there and hang out with him. And he's the same guy. You know what I mean? He's just very calculated, especially talking to the media.
Yeah.
Now, when he talks sports, which is all we really talk together about, he's very much a sports guy. He's very animated and into it, but if you start getting close to any issue, he just pulls back. He doesn't want to be in. He doesn't want to be quoted. He doesn't want anything. And I could feel that, and I didn't push it there. I didn't ask him for that side of what he's doing. But I agree with you. He hasn't been in office for, 9 years? And, 13 years, because it was Pence, then it was Holcomb for 8. Yeah, it's Holcomb. So, hey, do you want to call it a day here? You want to take some calls?
Do we have any, or did they leave us?
All right,
We've got a few.
Lines are full.
Yeah.
Hey, you're on the air. How are you?
Hey, Bob, good morning.
Morning.
I appreciate you standing up for the citizens of Dyer, not only on the train and the boondoggle, but also on this redistricting. I think it's time for change. I have a feeling that if Bob Starkey doesn't get elected the next term, he's still going to have to go to work the next day. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
It's easy to be Mitch Daniels when you're fat and happy and to put something out there like that when you're really not going to be hurting should something occur opposite your opinion. So, Bob, I I appreciate what you do. Jed, before you make fun of Chuck, take a glance down at that belly button of yours trying to escape.
Hey, man, takes one to know one.
Fat ass.
Is that an FCC violation? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But now I just picture callers just calling in, saying that, and hanging up.
Fat ass. Hey, you're on the air. How are you?
Homeboy, how you doing? Hey, how's that brush doing I bought for you?
It's still sitting there. I'm pretty sure
Still-
I've never used it.
Still sitting there, virgin as can be, baby. I can't even believe it. Hey, listen, here's the deal. First of all, regarding Mitch Daniels, he's just mad Trump didn't tap him for a cabinet position. I'll stop right there. He didn't get picked. He's mad. So he's going to sit down making his $1.1 million at Purdue with his feet on a desk, riding a cycle around in the summertime, blah, blah, effing blah. Now, by the way, the two swattings, they didn't get swatted, Jimmy. No SWAT team showed up. They got a call in advance, said, hey, because you don't think the Highland police and the other police have those guys' cell numbers in their phone? Of course they do. They go, hey, is anything going on down there? Nah, okay, we'll send somebody by just in case. They didn't get swatted, Jimmy. And if they did, they're men enough to answer the door and go, hey, they're not going to ride their bike out the back door and run away. Okay, they're good. Now, the reason we're in this situation is because in 2020, the census was fraudulent by the deep state because you don't have 17 mistakes go through, and every single one of them was against the Republicans. What's the odds of a coin toss going 17 heads in a row? It doesn't exist. The Democrats cheated with the census. They admitted it, and we're making corrections for it. It's that simple, Jimmy. And don't act like people from MAGA, we worship Trump. We don't like everything he does. But when it comes down to making a choice, either going with the guy or against him, we know what against means. That means for Democrats. Democrats haven't done a thing in this country to help anybody but themselves. I give you Exhibit A, Somalia, Minnesota. Not working out so well, is it, Jimmy?
Hey, I appreciate
And you
your.
are
I
fat,
know. I
by the
appreciate
way.
your comments.
And you
Thank
are
you.
fat.
Hey, the next caller.
I love that as the next caller comes on. I love that between you and Chuck, I am the biggest guy here, and no one's called me fat today. So this has been fantastic.
Hey, you're on the air. What are you doing?
Well, I'm just thinking about some of the comments made by Bob. And, Bob, you've got a right to your opinion. And I've heard it probably half a dozen times in the last week because they keep replaying the same programs all the time. But what I'm kind of wondering is the Republican Party has been the majority party downstate for at least 20 years. So this is not just the first time that there's been a redistrict or the opportunity to redistrict after the census. So it just kind of makes me wonder, have the Republicans, are they admitting that they've gotten it wrong for the last 20 plus years? Or are they actually just saying now that we want to secure our numbers so badly that we have to incorporate, a quarter of the state? It just seems like that's bad precedent for either party to try to do a redistrict when it's not after the census, like what the past policy has been. And I just kind of wonder what happens if things go haywire sometime in the future, and the Democrats try to do the same thing.
You're not wrong on that. So let's fast forward 30 years, and for whatever reason, and we don't need to take calls on this, but for whatever reason, 80 of the 92 counties are now purple. Democrats are taking over, and in 30 years, they now have a supermajority in Indiana, and they can draw it as they like. And they draw this pinwheel out of Marion County that goes from Marion County up to Lake County, and now we've got, population 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 congressional seats in Indiana that are all true blue, nobody's ever going to, no Republican will ever win. That is 100% a real possibility, and I agree with you in that. That's a complete possibility.
It's a bad precedent to set.
Where I started with the precedent setting was I was with that until I heard, and I just repeated that football analogy. When if you zoom out of Indiana and you look at the country as a whole, and you look at what voices are being represented where, I do think it is a way that that Hoosier voices are being diluted. But here's my point with it: if you're going to fix it or change it or whatever verbiage you want to use, if you're going to redraw those lines in 4 years, well, not 4 years, 5 years, because you'll do it in 30 and then redistrict in 31. What's the difference if you do it then or now when it could impact things now? That would be the argument. But I do agree with you. It when the tables turn, just be prepared for that.
But the difference is that the Republicans just approved the districting 4 years ago, and now they're saying because it doesn't suit their need at this particular moment, now they're going to try to do something that is not common practice, and we can't worry about. The other point is we can't worry about what's going on in the other states because we don't elect the officials in the other states. We elect officials in our state.
It's
let
true.
them deal with their issues, just like when the state attorney tried sticking his nose in the business of what was going on with some legislative act in Colorado a couple of years ago.
Now,
that wasn't his business to stick his nose in there either.
Right. Here's a point that maybe get me in trouble with some of these Republican circles. They were using all of the states on the East Coast, and I just used one, Rhode Island, where I said, look, Rhode Island has all Democrat congressional, congressmen, but they vote like 40%, 40% Republican. Well, that's not really fair. And so that's part of the Indiana justification. Well, we need to do that. Well, if you look at that, look at how Indiana voted, statewide. It's really like 60-40. Well, only having 2 of the seats be Democrat, well, that's not really fair then, is it?
Wait a second. Rhode Island only has 2 seats.
Well, there you go. Democrat. What are you talking?
They only have 2 representatives.
Okay,
How could they split it up?
Well, you've got Rhode Island. You can go to...
No, but I mean, literally, if you have 2 and there's 40% Republican, maybe you get 1 and 1.
Well, then maybe you get 1 and 1. And
so are you saying that every state that is like majority Republican or majority Democrat should just be one color?
No, but
that sounds like what you're saying.
Well, that's the argument that's being used right now.
Well, are you saying that argument?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, it is. Honestly,
because
I think I know who this color is, and he's a Democrat and you're a Republican. But from a media standpoint, what's going to happen here?
Yeah,
is that they're going to draw the banana district, and then they're going to each side nationally is going to come in here and spend more money than you could ever imagine. The thing that got me last time was I was helping my nephew with his homework. He was in like 7th grade or something, and we're going through the Quizlet thing, and there would be 3 questions, and then there would be Frank Mervan's a loser from Jennifer Ruth Green. And then it would go 3 more, and it would be, Jennifer Ruth Green doesn't even live in this district. And I'm like, I just wanted to do the homework with the kid, and they spent so much money on this.
Well, that's what I said about the war chest. I mean,
it's going to happen, but your logic is if you're in charge of that state, you should have all your people that color.
Well, and
that's what you're saying.
And that's how it was set up on the Senate side until we had the 17th Amendment. The states decided who to send.
I know how that goes in the past, but I think that how do you feel about that? You're a Democrat. I mean, should Virginia, I think, is thinking of doing this, and they're going to offset everything that your side's trying to do. I mean, how do you feel,
this is a counterbalance to California, so if everybody does that, that's what's going to happen. And I think California did it because Texas did.
What do you think, caller? Every state should be its majority color.
No, I think that the way it's going as far as the districting goes, it's it's just wrong, because now you're going to get, I mean, at least California, from what I understand, they went to the people to find out about redistricting rather than, just going ahead and toting the water for the party lines and trying to appease the guy in the front office. If you look at it, there's a moral issue here too. The people that live, 2 hours east of here don't have the same issues as we do in Whiting or Maryville or Lowell or anything like that. It's just wrong on all kinds of levels.
All right. Hey, thanks for your call. So really, when you're saying about disenfranchising people, you say, if you go up and you take a satellite view and, voters in Indiana are being disenfranchised. How? Well, I mean,
only on a national level.
Only on a national level, because if Indiana's like 43 or 44% Democratic, if you go all 9, what have? I mean, are they disenfranchised?
Oh, I know it.
It doesn't matter what level you take it at.
Such a complex topic, because, and like I said, I think it did start with Texas, and then California did their Prop 50, where they did go to the voters of California and they said, "Hey, do you want us to redraw the map?" Have Democrats redraw the map as opposed to just some outside firm. And then Indiana's going to do it. You said was Virginia was one, West Virginia, one of the Virginias was going to do that. And yeah, at the end of the day, then every state that has a majority big enough to do that will probably be forced to do that. Yeah, either at the behest of Trump for the Republican states or out of preservation from the other ones.
I'll bet. I mean, I'm all in that they're going to pass it in Indiana. I mean, we're going to have a banana district, and I'm going to Muncie over the holidays, and I'm going to go to Wabash, and I'm going to see how long it takes to drive all the way there.
But this, I think this is the real question that people need to, and the caller made a great point that it just sets a bad precedent to do it in between the census. Because if the census were last year, and that's how they would draw it now. So the question isn't whether or not they should redraw maps to make it favorable to whomever they want. Is now the time to do it, or should you wait?
Now, the question is it okay in this current atmosphere to just admit that it's all about power?
It is.
It's all about grabbing as much power as you can, and it's so entertaining. This podcast was recorded live on the radio, AM 1230, WJOB on 104.7 FM. He's Bob Starkey. I'm Jim Deedlow. It's Chuck Pullen's show, but he had to go take his...
but if you want the real content, wait till Chuck leaves and listen to Jed and Bob.
All right, I like it. Hey, wait. The fall of Jed and Bob. That sounds pretty good. All right. Thanks a lot to Lynette Lopez. She kept the thing rolling. And until next time, we'll see you later.